Check 1 2 1 2. Let's test to see if we're live out there. What's going on, mother lovers? You are back with another session right here. Something you might not know nothing about. Huh? Something you might not never know nothing about. What the hell is going on?
Failed your own test.
That's how you know. That's how we'll do the roll call in a bit, boy. That's how you know I'm hit with the roll call. Welcome back, mother lovers. This is something you might not never know nothing about with myself, Mice Diggy, and my co-host Dan DNA. How you doing, bruv?
Yeah, good.
Good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Loving the weather out there.
It's nice.
It's beautiful,
isn't it?
isn't it?
Yeah.
You can-
Back to how it should be.
Yeah, man. Natural springs. You know what I mean? Everyone was complaining about the heat. All right. How do you like this? It's wet and cold. Yeah? Hold that. Hold that for the next 6 months. That's you, yeah? So people complaining, boy, about the heat. Now, we're lucky, though, man. I mean, we had a long-ass summer. Do you know what I mean? Here in the UK, you know, for the most part, it was quite a long bit of sun. So we can't really complain when it gets like this. It's only right. Do you know what I mean?
Goes up must come down.
Yeah.
That's what they say. So you know,
That's exactly it, man.
all that water that evaporated, it's gone somewhere. It's got to come back down.
Got to come back down. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So let's hear people complaining now. Like, is it too hot now?
Too much water.
Yeah. Well, you know, some of us, you know what I mean, got our wristbands, our armbands and that. So like, I'm cool. You know what I mean? I ain't drowning. It's the bone density. People know already. My bone density, so my swimming technique is a bit, basically I can swim, it's just that I find it hard to breathe underwater. So, do you know what I mean? It's like the coming up part when you're underwater. That's the weird part for me, you know what I mean? But I'm getting there. I'm learning slowly but surely, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing my lessons, and due to the weather, I think I'll be doing a lot more. What's going on, mother? What's going on, mother lovers? Shout out to LJM Records, big up, man. Shout out to Black Einstein in the building, my brother Turbo Tubalicious. What's going on, Mr. Green? Yes, Conscious Minds TV is in the building. Yeah, we're looking forward to this one. Listen, man, it's been a minute. You know what I mean? We ain't spoke to my brother in a minute, but I know we're gonna have a good catch up tonight. What's going on at the moment? So I think there's obviously a whole lot of madness going on in the world as usual. Every time I speak to somebody now, they're like, yeah, the world's crazy right now, man. Yeah, things are a bit mad, you know, it's all of that. And, you know, luckily a lot of us, you know, we've already seen that. We've already seen that the world's crazy.
Did you see the second from last episode of America the other day? Donald Trump's announced he's going to run for president again.
Number 47. Yeah. He's going to get that.
This second from last episode of the series. They always have that thing where they're
cliffhanger. Yeah, the cliffhanger, boy. That was, what do you call it?
The orange man's back.
Yeah, the orange man back.
And then you're left for 6 months. I wonder what's going to happen with Orange Man. What's going to happen with him?
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones, isn't it?
Kanye's disappeared.
Yeah.
Just disappeared into the background.
Is it?
I don't know where is he?
That's true, you know. That's true, you know. You ain't really heard a lot since then.
He's having a bit of a rest. It's been a hectic couple of weeks.
He's done his job. He's sold his, you know what I mean, product, whatever product he had to sell.
Yeah,
he's done that
shed
now.
all of his wealth. He's shed all of his companies. He was being held down by. Just gonna have a little bit of a chill now. Get himself ready for the next season.
Do you know what?
He'll
it's
probably
weird.
come back with Trump in the next season.
Orange
man and black man.
How did it have with Trump, man? Looking like a Jaffa cake, boy. So wait, because the thing is, it feels like, do you know what I mean? Like, he just came to just kick up some fuss, make some noise, and like you said, he's gone. But the reason why it don't feel like he's gone is because now there's just bare videos. Like, everyone's putting out videos talking about, Kanye, Kanye, so-and-so said about Kanye this and that. It was like, rah. Like he can really come and do a whirlwind. And that, would you reckon that's that Kardashian magic? Like you were saying that allegedly their lineage is from witches or something like that. Have they cast a spell? Women. Have they managed to cast a spell on Kanye for Kanye to cast a spell on everybody else?
I don't know. Maybe that was him breaking the spell or something. Maybe that was his like.
You reckon
his spell breaking thing? He had to, shed all of his worldly goods. That's what a real wizard would have to do. Shed their worldly goods. Yeah,
for ascension, innit?
Gandalf didn't have much.
Nah.
You know what I mean, traditionally wizards are not like rich people, are they? They're just sort of. Like...
Nah, but when he went to war, my man, he was all blinged out. Remember, not jewels and that, but his whole robe and that was like, rah.
Well, that's what like when Kanye comes back with Trump, that's what he'll come back like. Yeah, white hair.
Orange streak,
orange skin,
just to
orange face, white hair.
Just to represent for Trump, boy. Come, let's do this. He'll be vice president and that. The world.
I just think all of this is going to build up into something. So I think that the Trump and Kanye, they did hook up before. People shouldn't forget that they was friends before at one point. They sort of there was Kanye went and visited him in office, didn't he, at one point? So there was there's a whole connection there. So
do you reckon,
I wonder if this is all like a big it's going to sort of link up some point and then.
But what would be because
it makes sense now.
You think the idea is obviously getting Trump back in power, yeah, or making it look like because we we know that this is all about selection. It's not really an election; it's selection. This is Trump's idea, I guess. Or some, yes. We'll call it Trump's idea.
Kanye might know whose idea it is.
But like, could it be then that what they're doing is trying to make everybody back, people like Kanye and Trump then, and go like, we want him back in because this guy, Biden and this guy, that Biden and that Biden are all,
Yeah,
they were just messing it up. They're messing the whole scene up. Like the movie isn't really, going the way they want it in the country. So I'm sure
Biden's not big with. It doesn't seem to have many rappers around him, does he? He's not got like a crew around him or anything. It's like Kanye's quite a good. It's quite a reputable figure to have around you, I suppose.
Yeah, man, it's kind of weird. I think
Ice Cube even came out supporting Trump at one point, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, and I think Kanye tried to bring him back into it and saying, I'm following Ice Cube. Ice Cube was like, hey, man, I ain't got nothing to do with what you're talking about. Yeah. He's like, I just cleaned up my shit.
Oh, he was trying to bring him back in during the last
with
episode before this episode.
This one, that just happened. He was just like...
because he had a whole thing, didn't he?
Yeah, man. Yeah, the rappers... See, and this is the thing, man. This is what I feel about is like in hip-hop music, we've talked about this before. They were planted these little seeds telling us about certain things going on.
Yeah.
Razkaz. I think of Razkaz's album, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Nature of the Threat. Or there's loads of tunes where he dropped little gems here and there.
Yeah.
And so it is surprising when people think it's like, oh, right, you're into that. Are you a conspiracy theorist then or whatever? You're like, what are you talking about, man? It's sort of, in a way, it's open dialogue. It's like allowing you to think. And Wu-Tang, man, they battered it. There's a whole bunch of their stuff from top to bottom where you're hearing about, like history that might not be the history that you were taught in school and whatnot. And that's all it basically is. And that's what this show is about as well. We're saying is that, the idea is for people to understand, like, look, man, it doesn't matter what you believe, what your idea is. If you can express it in a way for people to understand, and then they can go and do some research on it and make up their own mind on what they think on it, and understand why you believe in it as well, as opposed to thinking that you're some nutter, that you're just crazy, or you're some conspiracy theorist, or you're anti everything. It's like, there's no problem with questioning things, because once you do, you can get to the root of what really is the answer, as opposed to what the answer you've been taught is. You know what I mean? And that's, it's as simple as that. So with everything going on in the world, at the end of the day, I don't think people should ever take it to heart, because that's when you start getting lost within the information and not really comprehending everything that's going on. And you're like,
don't get attached to any of it.
Nah,
basically, you got to try and remain a little bit outside of all of the information.
Yeah,
sort of to take it for as far as it needs to go. You know.
Yeah.
The Kanye thing's fun.
It is.
Trump's fun. if anyone doesn't think he's the funniest person in politics of the last 50 years, you're too serious. You're taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah. I mean,
it's funny. No one's been in politics like that before, who just comes in, insults people, you know, just stomps all over everything, grabs people by the pussy, whatever, you know, whatever. Do you know what I mean? No one's been like that before.
Yeah.
So, but don't get attached to it and think that like, oh, that means he's going to save us just because he's funny.
Yeah, and it's that, like, you know, it also shows that you might be getting a bit caught up in believing that this shit is real as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's still, you still got to remember that it's, you know, a play. It's like it's a theatre play. And all these people are playing roles, do you know what I mean? And trying to sway a whole bunch of people, a whole country, you know, bunch of public into willing some form of whatever to happen. You know what I mean? And that's the interesting thing about, like you said, with Kanye. That's why it's funny, because it's like, right, what is he? What's his whole game then? One minute he's a billionaire, next minute he's not a billionaire, and then they're going like, yo, nah, what it was that he had a deal on the table. How can you have a deal on the table for, like, what was it, 1.5 billion or something, and then you go and say all that, then you go and do all that? And then, like, of course you're going to lose it. Like, what makes you think you're going to get the deal after talking like that? But, you know, but that means you weren't a billionaire then, because you didn't get the 1.5 billion yet. I'm baffled, bro.
Paper,
It's like, yo, these lot trying to make you believe shit that ain't even real yet. Shout out to Robbie Love. He said, even Dave Chappelle said Trump is hilarious, calling COVID the Kung flu. Yeah, it's like that. It's like, yo, he just come up with stuff where you're like, wow. And I can see why people felt like, yeah, this is the guy that's going to save us, because he was saying a lot of stuff people were really thinking. People with their heads screwed on a certain way. I would say that for the normies, you know what I mean? People that think we're nuts and that. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, like, I get it all. And I think that helps. Like, the fact that I know people that are still on the queue juggling, they're still on, you know, whatever it is. And you're like, okay, I get why you are, but bruv, there's got to be a point where you're like, okay, yeah, I don't know if any of this stuff is, I don't know if anyone's been arrested or, you know, all that. Oh, the Vatican, yeah, they've gone to the Vatican and arrested them. Look, here's a video. And all the video is just like, wheel, like vans driving past somewhere. You don't know where that is. They told you it's the Vatican. Come on, bruv. Same thing. So it's the same thing, you know. But yeah, man, very interesting times, you know what I mean?
But that's nothing compared to the real debate that's brewing at the moment, which is something you mentioned earlier on, is the hip hop debate.
Oh, where hip hop started.
Do you think this is gonna boil over next year? Do you think it's gonna sort of start becoming a big thing?
As we know, next year hip hop is going to become 50 years old. It's going to be a 50th anniversary of this thing we love, this culture of ours. And it's recently been coming up over the last couple of years. You know, the idea of where hip hop started, like how it started. And so you had as far as I know, it's Busta Rhymes who went out and said that hip hop started from Jamaicans and Puerto Ricans. And that, you know, the Black Americans didn't really have a culture. And then, you know what I mean? And he brought it there and it's like, what? Yeah, that was just confusing. You know, why would he say that type of thing? But then you go and find out that because his parents were Jamaican, so he came over. And then there's a few other artists that are like that, but so it's like within the scene, there was this little bit of conflict that you didn't really know was happening, where people are like, oh, the Jamaicans are trying to do our thing, and now it's kind of come back out again because of. But the other side of it is like, okay, you know, Kool Herc came from Jamaica with the whole sound system thing, and he was doing the whole thing in the parks, and then that was bringing a lot of people there. But apparently there was some other stuff already going on in the Bronx, but indoors sort of thing, and you know, they had their jams and people dancing, you know, break dancers, and obviously the graph thing was going on, and then DJs and MCs and whatnot. So yeah, now I think we're getting to that point where they really want to find out who, you know, right, where was the egg?
Starting to intellectualize it. And,
yeah.
So what they're saying then is that that it's just the sort of the sound system influence on DJs was really all that came from Jamaica, and everything else was sort of going on already in
I believe so.
In New York with the Puerto Ricans and
yeah, I believe so. I believe that's what it is. Big up King Chico in the building. What's going on, my brother? People's Army in the building. I believe that's what it is what they're saying is that they didn't necessarily Cool Herc maybe brought the sort of idea of the outdoor party vibe to it, and he weren't necessarily the only one. I might be getting this wrong, but I believe it was to do with sort of doubling tunes and making sure that the B-boys got to dance on a certain part of the tune. Might have been more his thing, but then, do you know what I mean? So it was that there was a different quite a separation, but they were saying that he brought in a certain element but it wasn't necessarily like he created B-boys, you know, MCs, like the whole thing. So
he wasn't out graffitiing.
Yeah. But I think what I can see from it is that the fact that it was outdoors, you had more people seeing it. Right. But whereas if you can imagine, like these were like jams that were at the local youth center type thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so it was obviously a bit more underground. Yeah. Bit more underground, but they were doing more or less the same thing, which makes sense. Why would they all of a sudden just start doing it outdoors from nowhere, you know? But it's interesting, man. What's that? So Robbie Love went to see KRS-One. How was that, bruv? How was that, man? That sounds like it must have been a bit crazy because my brother 279's out there with him. He said 1520 Sedgwick Ave, South Bronx, birthplace of hip hop. KRS making it official with documentation. Check Temple of Hip Hop. Yeah, he's got the receipts. KRS has got receipts, boy. He knows when hip hop started. What's going on with our bro? Is he in the DVG up in there? Oh, he might be there. Yeah, man. Wow, boy, that's crazy. But yeah, man. So let's first of all, before we get him in, should we give a shout out to Canisters UK?
Yeah.
Just give a big up to Canisters UK. Make sure you hit them up for all your CBD products, mother lovers. That's canistersuk.com. CBD oil can help you with a whole bunch of ailments, from epilepsy to different types of pain, arthritis, anxiety, depression, sleeping disorders. It could also help you with acne. Didn't know if you knew that. That's something you might never know nothing about, because acne is a form of an inflammatory process. So obviously it can help in that way if you have your breakouts and that. It can help with Parkinson's disease, also help animals with different ailments as well, nausea and vomiting. And you can get CBD products in the form of chocolates, as well as sprays from Canisters UK. You can get them in CBD balm, and you can get a wide range, whether you want full spectrum or you want indica or just sativa, you can get that too. Also, the chocolate stirrers are bang bang, so make sure you hit them up. canistersuk.com for all your CBD products. And when you get to the checkout, make sure you put in the acronym SYMNNKNA. That's SYMNNKNA. Simna, something you might never know nothing about. Shout out to canistersuk.com. And without any further ado, let's bring in our guest, man. He's a fan favorite, you know what I mean? Syncretist, someone I could call a friend that's a syncretist, you know, knows all the jugglings. Like, I can't wait to like just go on a little adventure with him, you know what I mean? And then point out different symbolic bits and bobs that we see out there, especially in London, man. You see a lot of stuff, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, man, he's blessed us with many gems over the last few episodes that we've had him on, man. So it's definitely a pleasure to welcome him back on. Let's get some fire emojis in there. You know what I mean? for our brother, the syncretist, DVG, Conscious Minds TV in the building. What's going on, bruv?
Yeah, all good, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little bit quiet, but we can sort that out, I think.
Yeah. Hold on.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys fine.
Is that better?
Yeah. It's a bit louder, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
G. What's going on, man?
Yeah, all good, bro, man. Thanks for having me back on.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure, bruv.
It'd be nice to catch up and
Definitely, man.
talk about a few things as we usually do. So I'm up for it, man. Let's go.
Yeah, nah, man. Appreciate it, bruv. It's been good, man. Yeah, so been a bit crazy over the last few months, man, looking at different things. I've been getting heavy into the whole sort of, obviously, like the medical side. Like I've been reading this book. It's, what's it called? The Pasteur, Bechamp. Yeah, Bechamp versus Pasteur. Yeah. And, you know, it's very interesting because it goes back, it takes it back into like how, you know, people were looking at biology in terms of like where things came from, because they started to notice like things like mold and all that, and things becoming moldy, and wondering, was the mold coming in from the air or was it forming on the actual, you know, material or whatever. But it's like, what I found interesting about it was that Bechamp, he moved from different schools, you know, teaching and whatnot, different areas around France. It talked about like how there was a time when they called it the Roman Church. That's it. It was named pretty well. The Roman Church came in, and then obviously they, you know, when it comes to the whole church thing, you think about the priest class, because these were the people that had all the knowledge, and they decided what they wanted to teach people, right? So then obviously them coming over and then going like, right, we're going to have schools, we're going to set up schools. And then Bechamp going over to one of those schools of working, he started to notice how, you know, things weren't getting, say like he wouldn't get to the bottom of he wouldn't get to a full conclusion on certain studies and whatnot. And it's just like, I was just like, right, that's pretty interesting how they managed to slide tackle just in time for certain things. And this is how we end up where we are with, you know, the world we're in right now. This crazy world, man. We're in right now is because, yeah, it's like all they have to do is quickly slide tackle before you get to the root, to the meaning of certain things and how they really work. And then you'll veer it off into like either, all right, well, we'll conclude that another time, or which he did, you know, a lot of stuff he concluded later on, and then actually got to the root of the problem. But by then, he didn't have the influence that, say, others that did work with the Roman Church, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Managed to get. So it's very, very interesting, man. But, you know, so it got me thinking about like how important would you say it is in terms of like sort of understanding the undertones of, you know, the information you take in. So like obviously with us, it's like the subliminal messages, you know, watching certain films or, and I feel like it's with everything, with reading books, like this, you know, whether it's information that you're getting, you start to look at what time period that was. And then you know, you understand other things that were going on in that time period. And it's like, wow, you know, it's like a big circle of things happening.
Yeah, I would always say that when you look into something, just look at it from as many different angles as possible, or from as many different perspectives as possible.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of, with your own feeling and your own intuition, you can kind of see who's right and who's wrong, or whose idea you kind of lean towards, like in relation to that subject. Because like, for example, you can have a particular subject like medicine, like which you brought up, like, because that's what they said. That, like, you know, it's interesting you brought up like the Roman Church, because they said that the Roman Church like went on a like witch hunt to like kill all the witches who used to produce like natural medicines and potions and stuff like that in like the medieval times. And they went against like all the pagans and all the herbalists. So
All the naturalists,
They
right?
don't have the cures for particular medicines, and like you said, they're just selective of what they tell us
Yeah.
because their system is all about profit, because that's what the Roman maritime law is, just about profit and commerce. So they would have it wouldn't benefit them giving us all the secrets of how we can really cure ourselves, maybe through natural things or different approaches than the mainstream, because then that way we wouldn't need them. See, it's like they're making it as if to where we have to rely on the system to get by. But then once you kind of bypass that, you can see that, yeah, to some degrees in certain things you do, but then you don't have to go with that narrative. We'll always be in the system. But what I'm saying is, like, you just don't have to do everything it tells you. Like, and that's it, really. It's just like, be your own, like, be like going back to the whole sovereign and free man thing. Like, just be your own government. Like, go by your own intuition. Like, if they're saying something's good, but to you it doesn't feel right, then go with your own instinct and your own heart. Do you get what I'm saying? But yeah, it's just, yeah, there's always going to be this red shift, blue shift battle in the world when it comes to whatever it is, whether it's medicine or politics or football, or there's always going to be that
football.
that swing of, oh, we see it this way and we see it this way. And
so do you think it's always been like that in terms of health? Like, it's always been that there's someone out to make sure, or some kind of entity out there to make sure that we're not all healthy, so they can prosper.
I don't know if it's always been like that, but I don't know, because, you know, like, obviously, like, a lot of the studies that I've done, like, they say that, you know, like, I think we've spoken about this on the show before about, like, you know, you have, like, the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, and the iron age.
Yeah, is it the Yuga?
Yeah, the Yugas, basically, yeah. So, like, they say that when humanity is in the golden age, like, it's, like, all peaceful and all beautiful and whatever. But then they say when we go down in the ages, that's when we start getting more corrupted.
Yeah, so when we go into the lower
like
level
the bronze
metals
and the iron, which is, we've been in the iron age for like 6,000 years.
And doesn't iron represents Mars? That's
iron, right?
Mars connected, and then Mars and Rome is connected in it, like that.
Yeah, that's where you get the word Rome, Mars. Yeah, and it's all, like you said, it's all that Aries kind of symbology as well.
And so, and then, what was it, like the Romans believed, is it Romulus and Remus or something like that, were born from like a wolf, a mother
suckled
wolf.
on a wolf.
Suckled on a wolf or something like that. And that's where
raised by a wolf.
Yeah, raised by a wolf. And that's where the Romans came from. That's where
I don't know. I'm not too tough on the Roman mythology. I know different parts of it, but I think the wolf that you're mentioning might be something to do with a constellation in near Libra called Lupus. Because, you know, like Little Red Riding Hood and like the wolf and all that.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, that story. It's like, it's all based on Little Red Riding Hood's the sun. And then she gets basically.
Oh, big up Erin.
The wolf is Libra, where the sun sets, and it's the big bad wolf, and it's like a big mythology about the sun and the seasons, basically.
What? Can you break that down? So what? Little Red Riding Hood?
Yeah, she's the sun.
Little Red Riding Hood is the sun.
Yeah,
and what's she on? She's going to do.
She gets tricked by the wolf.
Exactly. Yeah, that wolf is a constellation called Lupus.
Right.
Basically, Santos explains this much better, but that's where I learned it from. Basically, from watching his videos.
Ah, right.
He explains it in. I think it's a video he's got about like myths and nursery rhymes.
Yeah. There's
he
another guy.
Explains it in that one. Like I know, like the whole, Jack and Jill. You know that nursery rhyme.
Jack and Jill.
That's about the sun and moon. Jack is the sun and Jill is the moon. Basically, so Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, which is Cancer, where
a water sign.
And then Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. 1 second, I'm going to explain it to you on my whiteboard. I got my whiteboard.
Okay, wicked. Wow, that's interesting, man. Shout out to Erin for locking in. Yes, that's a astrologist sister right there, man. We should definitely get her on to break some stuff down. Maybe we'll do Dan's birth chart. Dan Dolph birth chart. That'll be fun, man. Big up to Spud Gun. Shout out to the Crystal Lady. All the people locked in. Lindsay.
So can you see my board?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, Jack and Jill in astrology, their journeys start here. So basically, Jack starts in Aries because the sun exalts in Aries and the moon exalts in Taurus. So Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, Cancer, the water sign.
Cancer,
Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after, because when they get to this point, they can only go down.
And
so
Jack,
that's what the story of Jack and Jill is, basically.
Jack broke his crown.
The sun and the moon.
Yeah, and the sun with the crown. Obviously, the sun's got the crown around it.
Corona.
Yeah. And Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had... Yeah, that's all. It's all this, basically.
So...
It's all just explaining like the seasons. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is the sun and the planets.
And the seven planets. Wow. Really?
And just stuff like that, basically.
It always gets me wondering, like, do they, it's told in an allegory. We had Clint on a few shows ago talking about how the Bible was just allegories of different things. And is it like, okay, this is us telling you, and it's up to you to work it out? Do you think it's that?
I guess so. Yeah, that's their way of like kind of getting away with it. It's like, we told you, but you didn't know. It's like, like when, for example, when you sign a contract, you don't read all that small writing at the bottom. You just fucking sign the paper. But then they do something and you think, but it did. You just didn't read it.
Yeah, it's true.
Like one of those ones, basically.
You got to read the contract, the terms and conditions, where if you don't get tucked into that. And it's like we were taught, man, like there's a whole bunch of stuff we didn't know that we're supposed to learn, like the law. We're supposed to learn all those words, not all these words that they're throwing at us in school.
Do you know what, bro? It's interesting you mentioned the law. When, a couple of months ago, I was doing I got into like doing a bit more in how it relates to the Bible. I don't know if I did I mention this in the last show. I can't remember.
Go into it a bit. I
don't want to repeat myself if I've already mentioned it, but I'll go into it anyway.
We've talked about it, but I don't think you've mentioned it like since you've been getting into the stuff, like getting into it more. So
right,
go on.
So basically, like in the first chapter of Genesis, it refers to God as just God. But then from chapter 2, it refers to God as Lord God.
Lord God, yeah.
So what the debate is that God and Lord God are two different entities.
Yeah.
So the Lord God would be what we would say as like Jehovah or Yahweh. Or it is seen as also by some, like the Gnostics, as the devil. And what's interesting is that every time the word Lord is written in the Bible, it's in all caps. Like it just ran like everything's written normally, but the word Lord is always written in all caps. So the fact that it's written in all caps means that it's not in the same language as the rest of the text. Because when something's written in all caps, it's dog Latin. It's not English.
Yeah.
So, and also when it's written, it's all in capitals, but the L is bigger than the ORD.
Yeah, yeah.
And in law, when something is written like that, it means that the first letter of that word has no relevance. So then Lord would then, if that L don't have no relevance because it's written bigger than the other three letters, then that word becomes Ord, as in ORD. And apparently that is like a short abbreviation for the word ordinance, and it's to do with like judges and like the system. So basically the Lord in the Bible that people are praying to is just the government and the system that rules us, basically. Jeez. And also this all goes back to, you know, like you got like the Trinity in the Bible.
Father, the Spirit, Holy Ghost.
But basically this also ties into contract law, because you can only create a contract if there's 3 people. So basically that's why a policeman would never come up to you on his own. There would always be 2 of them, and you're the third party. And you need a third party to make a contract. Basically.
Oh,
so that's where the Trinity aspect of the Bible comes into the law. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you know, even like when you get like insurance, they say like third party fire and theft and all these little like terms they use.
That's because you have to, in order for that to happen.
Yeah, there needs to be a third party.
Oh, but they make third party sound like it's the person you crash into, or who crashes into you, that is the third party. But that's not true then.
Yeah, it's just basically, it's based on the whole triangle thing, isn't it? Like for the 3 sides, like the triad, the third party. So like I've been just digging into like little things like that, just to understand it more from like a biblical perspective, if that makes sense. Because ultimately all law, like the root of it is ecclesiastical, which means it's like religious. It comes from the Bible. That's why you've got to put your swear on the Bible when you go into the court.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So like everything, like, so believe it or not, knowing the Bible, like from back to front, or knowing it well, can help you with understanding the law and with how it all works and what it's all based on, because it's all based on that book, basically.
So, all right. So, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're getting into this as well, bruv. Seriously, because we had a guy on a few weeks ago, and he's, done quite a lot of stuff into this. So I've been following him for a while. And so when he was talking about the fact that, all law is basically based on the Bible. And then I said to him about the Quran. Do you think it's the same thing then for people that are, follow Islam? Is that the same thing? And he wasn't sure, because he said he hasn't looked into it enough. But he feels like that's quite possible. But, he had some other ideas as well that he didn't want to get into because he wasn't sure. But I thought of you immediately. I was like, right, if Mem was into this, man, maybe he'd probably be able to understand.
All I know is that Islam goes by Sharia law. So
all
I think
the countries,
Sharia law is based off the Quran as well, as far as I understand. Do Do you get what I'm saying? But like the thing is, you see, like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they're a trinity within themselves. They're like just three
Abrahamic.
different branches of the same tree because
Yeah.
they're all Abrahamic religions. Do
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So in a sense, it probably would be some form of. All right. Do the people know that? I guess the people do because they follow it. Not only they follow it as a religion, but not only that, as well as it is the law they live by, innit? So they probably do know it, but not in the same.
What do you mean,
like they? So okay, like here, people don't know that. Well, you just broke down over the last 10 minutes about the law going back to the Bible. People don't know that, and if you say that to them, they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, but obviously, we're going to get into that sort of stuff. Would you say that the people that follow Islam know that they're following the book in terms of the way they live, or would that only?
Well, yeah, they're very aware of the Sharia law thing. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, right. It's interesting, man. But say like, okay, yeah. I guess they would because it's the
like,
book.
that's why like for example, you can't drink or you can't eat bacon or you can't gamble.
Yeah.
Or you can't.
Wow.
There's no usury. That's all a part of the Sharia law.
No usury.
And it's in the Quran as well.
And it's in the Bible as well. No usury.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I guess there is.
Basically, you know what's interesting? My brother was telling me that apparently the way the Christians got round doing things was like they used, like, for example, because they couldn't do certain things because of their religions, apparently they used like the Jewish people to do it for them. This is why, again, I'm not trying to do like a Kanye here, but like this is why supposedly the Jewish people are rich, because the Christians couldn't do particular things, so they handed over their kind of
I've heard that, yeah,
power to them for them to do it for them, if that makes sense. That was like a theory that my brother said he watched, and someone proposed that theory. I'm not saying it's true. Just saying, like,
yeah, full disclaimer and all that, yeah.
Yeah, because
that is one of the things that they claim, that they've been brought in by, like, say, the Normans. The Normans brought Jewish bankers with them when they came to England. So there wasn't any Jewish bankers in the Anglo-Saxon times, but when the Normans invaded, they brought them. William the Conqueror brought Jewish financiers with him. So the Normans were funded, by Jews, and then they later on got kicked out again or whatever by the other kings later on. But if it's in the Bible and the Quran that you can't do usury, then they must have a separate law for Judaism if they're allowed to do it. If you see,
I'm guessing. I don't know that. I don't know that for
Talmud
a
or something like that.
There must be some. There must be some way around
like
it.
You said, there must be something that allows them.
Yeah.
To maybe kind of do it. I don't know. I guess.
But I think it's the Talmud.
The Talmud is like is a book of like arguments about the Bible. So they have the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, the Old Testament.
Right, the Old Testament, yeah.
And then the arguments about how you deal with each of those little laws in the Torah is the Talmud. So they sort of say, what about if you're doing this at a certain time and this happens, and then they go, okay, well, this is how we get around that. What about if you're starving in the desert and there's only a shellfish to eat? Oh, you can eat the shellfish, stuff like that. I think you're allowed to have ham in you're allowed to eat ham if it's 1/60th of the amount of food. So if the ham only makes up 1/60th of the total amount of food that you're eating, then you can eat the ham.
Wow.
Right.
And it's all based on this story that if a person puts ham in your soup accidentally and it's only 1/60th of the soup, then it's all right to just eat the soup. You'd have to throw the whole soup away. So there's little things like that in the Talmud.
Wow.
So there must be something in there about how they're allowed to lend money and charge interest. I'm guessing that's what it is. Is there something?
That's very interesting, Dan.
Yeah,
That's that you've
man.
like given me like an idea or like for something to look into. Do you get what I mean? Because obviously I've heard about the Talmud a lot, but I've never really delved into it like that deeply, really, if I'm being honest. But like it's something that you always hear, obviously, when you're looking into like spirituality and deep stuff or theology or whatever it is you're looking into. But like, when you again, like going back to astrology, like if you know like what like the religions are kind of based upon a particular like planet, they have like that flavor that kind of rules their religion. So for example, with Judaism, it's Saturn because of the Sabbath and the Saturday, and that's their holy day. So Saturn, that's the planet that kind of has like the main energy in their theology. And again, when you look at astrology and you look at Capricorn is the sign of Saturn, and that's about like money and career and business and like politics. So it connects in that way. So like Islam's like more relates to like Cancer and like Taurus and Libra because of like the Venus and the Moon. So it would be like more based on those themes. Like Christianity is like based on the sun, so you might get like Aries and Leo themes, like, and they're just like all
the lamb and the lion
flavors, if that makes sense, of the zodiac, and it's just. But at the same time, they're all from Abraham, because they're called the Abrahamic religions.
Yeah, okay.
But then Abraham is just, well, from a couple of books I've read, from Helena Blavatsky and Ibn Arabi, Abraham is like an archetype for Saturn, like Father Time.
All right.
But it also comes from the word Brahma, like from the Hindu cosmology.
Yeah.
Because you had Abraham and Sarah in the Bible. Well, in Hinduism, you got Brahma and Saraswati, so it's the same. It's the same story, basically, but just
never knew that.
Slightly different wording, and
but basically, sounds the same.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, because Abraham is like Brahma, basically, and Sarah is Saraswati.
Brahma, Abra.
And
Brahma.
So Abraham sacrifices a goat. I think he sacrifices a ram, maybe on the.
Yeah, that's right. He was going to sacrifice his son, but because he was so loyal to God, God said, "No, don't sacrifice your son. I'll sacrifice a ram in heaven instead." So obviously, that is not a literal ram,
right?
Because that ram is Aries, basically. Because in the Jewish and the Muslim religion, they have sacrifice holidays, and in the Jewish system, it's in Aries season, basically.
Okay.
It's called the Passover lamb.
Oh yeah, right, yeah, okay. Because they have the lamb, the roasted lamb bone.
Yeah,
as part of the Passover meal. Yeah,
that happens in Aries, but in Islam, it doesn't happen in a particular month because of their calendar being based on the moon. The celebration will be in all different times of the year. Yeah. But originally, it's in a month called Adar in the Jewish calendar, and then the Muslim name for the sacrifice is called Eid el-Adha. So they've got the same name.
Wow.
Basically. So yeah, it's just about like Yeah, because basically, because Aries, the sign Aries is the top of your head. Because I've explained before how the signs start from the top and go through the bodies and whatever,
down to
through
Pisces.
the whole body from Aries to Pisces.
Lion is the heart.
But yeah, so like that whole like sacrificing thing of the ram and all that, it's just an allegorical story, but people taking it literal. Like all of those texts are just allegories, but people take them literal. Basically, it's like in the Quran when it talks about like worshipping a bull, and then it says, and then in the Quran says it's not a bull that you'll find on earth. It's a bull that's like bright yellow, but it's not a one that is on earth. But do you get what I mean? It's just that people could read things from a very literal perspective. There's no like esoteric like vibe to when they're reading something. It's just they're taking it for like a literal story.
It's the same as Jack and Jill going up the hill.
Yeah, and Santa Claus going down the chimney and bringing you presents. All that's to do with is that here you have something called the Santa Claustrum, and it drips an oil all the way to like your private parts, basically. And then what you're supposed to do is not squander it and bring it back up, and then once it comes back up, it ignites your pineal gland, and you get like have a Kundalini experience, or you get illuminated. So all like Santa Claus going down the chimney is just like a metaphor for you, and bringing presents under the tree is just about you bringing that cerebrospinal fluid from your third eye down to your body. That's the present, basically. Because here you've got something called the Santa Claustrum. If you actually look, there's something near your third eye area. It's called the Santa Claustrum. And he comes from the North Pole, because this is the North and down there's the South. So it's all all of these stories and all of these myths and motifs, they're all about like just biology and how nature works, basically. That's what they're all based on.
Claustrum. Santa Claustrum. Jeez, that's interesting, man. I got to look into that, boy. Santa Claustrum. Yeah, claustrum. Like you hear the word claustrum, it sounds like that. Wow, man. There's so many of them things that we hear and we're taught as kids as well. So, yeah, I say kids. We're not little goats, but, as young, as we're taught, like, all these little nursery rhymes, we just hear them.
Yeah, just
we sing along with them. We think, yeah. We don't hear them at all, man. We just hear them the way we think. Yeah, like,
for example, like the song, I'm not going to sing it, but the like Christmas carol we used to sing at school, like Little Donkey.
Little donkey, little
on
donkey.
A dusty road, like Bethlehem is near, blah, blah, blah. Again, that's all astrology, because the donkey is the constellation in Cancer.
Oh, right.
Bethlehem is an allegory for the sign of Cancer.
Serious? Bethlehem?
Yeah.
Right.
And also it means the house of bread. And around that area, there's a donkey constellation. I think it's called something Borealis. I can't remember
Aurolis.
the exact name.
Is it Aurolis Borealis?
What is it?
Aurolis? Is it Aurolis Borealis or something like that?
It may be. It's a donkey constellation, basically.
Wow. Okay. So little donkey on the dusty road.
It's about the stars.
It's just explaining it, but not in the way you think.
It's like there's so many of them, bro. It's just like once you understand things from that perspective, you can see them. Like it's like Hercules in his 12 labors is about the sun going through the 12 signs of the zodiac. That's all it is.
Hercules is the sun.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like that, you know, the priest class sort of hand that down, the tradition of telling you without telling you, you
Yeah.
know, and you know, from your point of view, like you said, because we spoke to people that actually believe in the Bible, like they believe that there's Jesus was the son of Nazareth, and you know everything that happened, sort of thing. Then you got people that say like, nah, it's all just, you know, it's all to do with law. It's all just based on law, and it's all allegories and made up. But then, do you know what I mean? Like you're saying, it's all to do with astrology.
It's to do with all of them,
Mm,
basically. It's like
that's my theory, you know.
they're just like it's because like if you understand that astrology, like I said, is the body as well. It's talking about the body as well. It's talking about the heavens and the stars.
Yeah.
It's talking about law and how that works. It's talking about all of it, because it's all based on it's based on how nature works, basically.
It's the ultimate allegory. Like just fling a whole bunch of allegories together in one big massive allegory. So people
they say basically the reason why things are written in allegories is because they're too deep to explain.
But what's happened to us is that we've been dumbed down so much that the allegories are too deep to understand.
Yeah, or it's just that no one brought it to your attention. It's like I didn't understand it until it was brought to my attention. And then once it was brought to my attention, then you start seeing it from like, you think, okay, and then you just start and you think, oh wow, it does make sense. You get what I mean? It's like, it's not the fact that, I don't think it's the fact that it's hard to get. I just think that it's once it's brought to your attention. Well, I don't know. Maybe everyone sees things differently. There's some, because see, I had no emotional attachment to the Bible for me to deny that information. So if I was like a hard Christian, I might have said, no, it's all bullshit. It's not an allegory. It was a true story. There is a guy called Jesus. Like, do you get what I mean? I might have seen it from a bit of a different perspective. But because I wasn't emotionally tied to that book, I could see it being an allegory for nature and how nature works and how the body works. And do you get what I mean? It's like a manual for how to. Like, there's a saying that. What's the saying? It's like the Bible can either enslave you or enlighten you, depending on your way of understanding things, basically.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's it. That's the bottom line.
It just depends really on like because like sometimes I watch people and I think, yeah, what you're saying is right, but it's just from a different like. But I see like people like argue, you know, like them people that argue in Hyde Park.
Oh yeah, Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, Speaker's Corner. I watch some of them sometimes because I'm just interested to see what they're saying. And like sometimes they're arguing over like a particular story, like in the Bible or in the Quran or whatever it is. And then I'm sitting there and I think to myself, only if you knew what it really meant, and it would change your whole perspective on it. Like the particular one I'm talking about is that they were talking about the 144,000 that go to Mount Zion with the Lamb of God and all like that story.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
But ultimately where that number comes from and what that means is that we have 7 chakras, right? And each chakra, should I say, in the Indian system has like petals around it. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah. They're like,
but each chakra has a particular amount of petals. So if you start at the root chakra, I've got it here, man. No, have I not got it? Have I got it here? No, I haven't. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought I did. But I'll just explain it anyway. So the root chakra has 4 petals. The sacral chakra has 6 petals. The solar plexus has 10. The heart has 12. The throat has 16. The third eye has 96. When you add all of them up, it comes to 144. And then the crown chakra is 1,000. So when you times the crown chakra by the third eye, you get 144. And that's just talking about you being one of the 144,000 is just talking about you bursting all of your chakras and going into enlightenment and being ascended ultimately. Because that number, 144,000, is a sum that makes up all the petals of the 7 chakras.
So is that the Santa Claustrum that's going back up and blooming the...
Yeah. It's based on the same concept.
144,000, boy. Jeez.
When that comes to 9 in numerology, innit? Because 144.
Yeah. 9. The divine number.
Yeah, exactly.
Divine number 9.
Because that's 9 is a number of transformations, a number of death and rebirth.
And we talk about...
After 9, you go back to 1, innit, basically.
And with the circle, 45 degrees, 4, 5, 9.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Degrees, so, 8 and 1.
Like,
9,
when you just
60.
look into it a little bit, like, deeper, you can, like, ultimately, like, what I always say is I'm not debunking religions or things. I'm just adding more context to it when I'm explaining the way. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not about debunking it. It's just about adding to it, like putting a few more toppings on top of it to spice it up.
I think people who are, spiritually, emotionally attached and financially, obviously, attached to these religions would say that you are trying to debunk them, though. Even though what you're doing is, I think, like you said, you're sprinkling some on top, but you're actually kind of, pulling the curtain back a little bit. You're showing people a little bit of the mechanics behind it all, maybe possibly the Wizard of Oz.
That is ultimately what I'm doing. It's just like, because like, why 144,000? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, you got to ask these questions. Why not 145,000?
Yeah, like, who counted them all?
For example, like you said, all these numbers. These are all processional numbers. Because like 72 is 2 times 72 is 144. So like 72 is and 72 equals 9 as well. Do you get what I mean? And like the zodiac processes once every 72 years. That's what I'm saying. It's all just like it's all just codes, bruv, and like it's just a game. You know what, bro? It's just all one big like game and little like puzzle they've set up, bro. And it's just once you like clock it or once you understand the puzzle, then you can just clock it easier. That's all I can say to you, man. You just gotta look into it, man.
Yeah, it's true though, bruv. You're not lying, man. Once you clock it all, you're just like, oh, okay. It's almost like as time goes on, they develop these things. It's like the gematria stuff.
Yeah.
You realize,
it's like for example, Mice, like 10 Downing Street.
Yeah.
Like there's so much symbolism, like looking at the door, the number, the colour it's in.
The sun over the top.
It's just like it's such a Capricorn. It's all based on Capricorn because Capricorn is about politics and like it's based on that. And number 10, Capricorn is the 10th sign ruled by Saturn, which is why the door's in black, Like, do
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying? It's just like it's subtle, but for me and you, it's not subtle anymore because we, like you said, we can see past it. But to the normal person, it's very subtle. Like these things, like in the sense that people don't know because they just haven't looked into it or they haven't been made aware of it.
Yeah.
It's not that they're too stupid to get it. Some people just won't get it, but what I'm saying, like, I think generally it's just that, yeah, people haven't been given the flip side of the story to kind of think, okay, like, because the thing is sometimes when you explain this info to like just normal people, it's a bit of a shock to the system. So automatically there's like cognitive dissonance and people are, oh, you're crazy, or oh, you like this, and right. It's weird, man. It's just like with me, bro, I've got to the point where I only like tell or talk to, like, obviously you've invited me on here to talk about these things, so that's why I'm freely just talking about it. But I haven't gone past the stage of like sharing knowledge to people. I will share knowledge to people, but at the same time, like I'm stopping this like forcing shit down people's throats, which I haven't done in a long time. But what I'm saying is I'm just trying to just tell people who want to hear it, basically. Because otherwise you just get too disheartened when you talk to people and they don't get it and they start thinking you're mad and you get into arguments and like, it's just, I ain't got time for all that anymore, man. I just want to do my thing with like-minded people, and if anyone wants to join in and learn, I'm all for it, man.
Yeah, well, this is what we do here, man, right here on some shit you might not never know nothing about. We got our brother Mem DVG in the building, breaking down some knowledge, as always. This is what we do. Shout out to King Chico. Big up to the Crystal Lady. And King Chico, I like what he said there. He said it's too simple for people to understand as well, because he said it's like, it is quite complex for people. But at the same time, once you realize how simple things are, it's almost too simple for people. They're like, no, man, it can't be like that. Do you know what I mean? But you just see it, like you said, with that. I didn't know anything about that 10 Downing Street shit, but it makes sense, especially when you're saying it's the 10th. Is it in the 10th house, he said, or it's the 10th?
Yeah, the 10th house in astrology is to do with your career, politics, public life. The 10th sign is ruled by Saturn, which is Capricorn. It's about the goat, and it climbing to the top.
Wow.
Like,
and then when they announce stuff, when they're doing their little announcement, you know, when you hear like, yeah, the Prime Minister's going to announce blah, 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 it's always on a certain type of day. It's either something's conjunct with something, do you know what I mean? Like the planets.
Yeah, I'm sure they I mean, I've looked into stuff like that. I'm sure they do have, like, I mean, maybe like, for example, the people actually doing the speech might not know that, but maybe people like more higher than them might say, "Oh, we're doing it on this day." So
yeah,
but like people, I'm not necessarily saying like the politicians all know.
No. They don't have to
stuff or whatever. They're just like being used by people above them. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like. Yeah, like the thing is, that's what I'm saying. We're all doing rituals that we don't know what we're doing, basically. All of us. Like even me knowing all this stuff, sometimes I find myself saying things and I think, I know it means that, but because I'm so programmed, like I still say things. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It becomes so like inherent within you that like, it's like some people don't say good morning and they say good rising, for example.
Grand rising, yeah.
Because morning means you're mourning a death or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Or like in a stand, or people use like those type
Overstand.
of terminologies. Personally, I still use the word understand, because unless I'm talking to a policeman, then I don't need, like, because my
Yeah,
intention of saying, oh yeah, I understand you, is not to bow down to you. It's
Yeah.
just to say, I get what you're saying.
yeah,
Do you get what I mean? But like, if I was talking to a policeman or someone in the legal, like legally, I wouldn't say yes, I understand you, because it means something different. So it just depends on like what context or who you're using it with, what for. Do you get what I mean?
yeah. Because there is like that. Some people, don't say that, man. Don't say understand, because that means that you stand under, you know. But really and truly, it's like it depends on who you're speaking to. Like, we're not speaking to each other on a level. And that, it goes back to what you're saying about the law thing. Like, even us now having this conversation is a form of contract, right? There's like,
yeah, of course.
There's got to be a conclusion to the conversation, and that's like where the contract ends in some form of way. And it's crazy to even think that that's what it is. Like, it sounds mad, but when you go back in time and you look at, like, even for instance, just go and watch like Pirates of the Caribbean, and there'll be certain conversation that goes on that's in proper contract form, and you won't realize it. You think that it's just some joke, this little skit bit that's like, you know, a bunch of dialogue that's just really funny, but it's actually them talking like how pirates would have spoken to each other on the docks and whatnot, like making sure that they're abiding by the maritime law. Do you know what I mean? So it's just nuts. Like, you know, like you said, it sounds crazy when people are talking about it to people that they're like, whatever, they don't understand it at all, but it's actually there. And there's so many people in the world now that have gone heavy into research, and people that have gone to jail or whatever, people that have got, you know, own their own land, own the house, own what's underneath the land, what's above the land, like this, that, and the third, because they've dug so deep into it. It's just that because it's not on, you know, unfortunately they don't have a guy that is in the private that's doing all of that. That's now in I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. So no one will know about any of that information ever, you know, unless people talk about it willingly and let people. You know, I get what you're saying exactly about it's not worth speaking to people about it too much unless they want to hear it. But I think what's interesting now is being able to drop little gems here and there. So people go, oh, yeah.
Like you can, obviously, I'm always, this is what I was, because I was talking about this with my brother the other day, like, about, like, he's like, oh, like, about something. And I'm like, you know what, you can't, like, some people just won't get it or whatever. Like I said,
exactly.
all we can do is plant the seed. Whether they're going to water it is up to them. Like,
Exactly.
do you get what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's all we can really do. Do you get what I mean? Like, we can just plant our seeds and see if people want to water it, and that's it, man. Because it's just like, because you know what, bro? It's like I've come to the conclusion that it's like, you know, like you don't like someone trying to like force something onto you. So at the same time, I'm looking at it from their perspective. I'm sure people don't want me forcing ideas on them. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm just trying to find that balance. Do you get what I'm saying, bro? That's all.
If people see you and you know, if you're just quiet about things, you get on with your life, and people see you and like your energy, they're going to want to inquire about how you get that energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how you can talk about it. But if you're just forcing it on people all the time, that no one likes that energy.
Exactly. It's like let it happen more naturally. Is basically what you're saying. Exactly.
Yeah. If how you hold yourself is attractive to people, they'll want to know what it is about you.
Yeah.
They'll be drawn toward. You know, they'll be drawn towards you to find out what it is.
It's like, for example, bro, like, the other day I was out, and I come back and my dad's in the living room and I'm hearing my voice. And like, I'm thinking, what? Anyway, so I've walked in my living room and my dad's sitting there watching one of my like astrology shows.
Oh, wow.
That I've done with someone.
Wow.
And I'm like, proper bash. And he's like, oh, this is really interesting, you know. And I'm like, is this guy taking the piss out of me or whatever? But he actually wasn't, and he just sat there and watched the whole thing, and like, I was like proper baffed because I thought like, if I told him like 2-3 years ago that I was like into astrology and do all these things, he'd be like, "Oh, you're crazy, you're mad."
Yeah.
But like, it's weird, and I was just like, it kind of like shocked me, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
And like, he was just like, "Oh, I'm bored of watching the news because all we hear is like depressing stuff, and like, I just want to like watch something different." And do you get what I mean? And it just like kind of threw me off a bit.
Waking up, boy. Pops is waking up, bro. That's what.
It's never too late, man.
Yeah, man. It's never too late.
No, exactly.
Unplugging. Trust. Like I said, man, back in the Trisha days. Remember when Trisha used to be on TV?
Words of wisdom.
It's around then, boy. I was like, yo. And I used to read the paper and all that everywhere I was going. You know, you get on the train, you get the paper.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, if I just stop watching and reading all of this, I think life might be a bit better. You know what I mean? And bam, that's all the way back then. Bam, early 2000s. And then I was like, right, that shit is just there to keep you.
Now you're reading.
Yeah, in doom and gloom. Exactly.
Trisha's biography instead now, rather than watching her on telly.
Yo, it's like, what is all of this, man? What is all of this TV? Like, you lot are just telling me shit that I don't really want to hear, and now I've got to go and speak to people. Yeah, did you hear about it? Yeah, man, it's really bad. Like,
and what's funny as well is that everybody reads the same paper on the way to work.
Yeah.
So then they all get to work and they're like, well, I think.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's what the paper thought.
Yeah, man.
It's weird, bro. Like you said, like, I haven't watched TV in years. But obviously, like, basically, because my dad's like downstairs on his own a lot of the time, it's like I'm trying to like make an effort to spend a lot more time with him, like, because of like my mum passing and him being alone downstairs and whatever. So I'm spending a lot more time in the living room with my dad, if that makes sense. So obviously he's got the telly on a lot. So like, it's mad. Like, we had the news on the other day, and they're like proper fear mongering people about like energy prices and this and that and whatever. And my dad's like, bloody hell, man. He's like, soon people ain't gonna have like enough money to even eat and all this and that. I said, Dad, like, this is all just to get people scared. Like, I said, we're all gonna be fine. Like, trust me. Like, it's just, all this does is put fear into people. When you get fear, you get ill. It's just again, it's just another part of the script to like another plot in the twist, another twist in the plot, should I say, of the movie that we're living in. Do you get what I mean?
Sure,
it's weird. That's the way I see things now. Literally,
it is.
I literally can't take anything that serious anymore.
And I think sometimes I'm like, right, people must think I'm mad because they'll apparently I'll be like, for real, is that what they're saying now? Like, you know what I mean? Because you just think like, that's all it is they're saying it. And they're showing you these pictures and you don't know if it's really happening. Like, so you can't take it serious. You can't. Otherwise it's going to eat you from inside. Why?
Exactly, bro. That's what I'm saying. And it's just like, I literally, like, the only thing I take serious is just like making sure like my family's all right and my dad's fine and we're all healthy and like that type of thing. That's the only thing I really take serious, bro. Everything else is just like, literally, to me, it's just like become like a big, like, life to me in the last 2 years has become like a big twisted, like a black comedy. You know, like there's a genre like black comedy where you have like twisted humor. That's how I feel like the world has kind of turned into, like, for me.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one, man.
Plot spoiler.
Yeah.
It always was that.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, I think we can say since, that 2001 episode, that's where it's been like, right, this shit really is a game.
Each little event serves to sort of, you either take it more seriously and go even further into it and take everything even more seriously, or as each event comes up, you go, nah.
Yeah.
Not this time. No. And for a lot of people, 2001 was that event where they were just like, nah, I can't take this seriously.
Yeah, I'd say, that was the event that probably sparked off a lot of people. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
definitely.
But again, it's so interesting you brought that up, bro. It's just like 911, innit? 911. And obviously in America, that's their like emergency call, innit? 911, 911.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think a lot of these things are what you call psyops, like meaning psychological operations. I think they just test the waters just to see where humanity's at. That's obviously their rituals as well, but it's just a way of like testing the waters to see, let's see how people are going to react. And that's probably what all this last 2 years has been. It's just been a big psychological operation. Let's see who's going to react to this and this and this. It's like research for them, and then they probably thought, okay, from this we're now going to do this. So it's just like a little.
I think you're right, like research. I think
basically
they get enjoyment out of the numbers of it all. That's what they like. What was their algorithm they was using at the beginning? The Neil Ferguson, his algorithm thing. So if you look at what that actually is, it's basically the game Sims, but without the graphics. So they type in how many people there are, how many hospitals there are, how many cars there are, and they make it more and more complex, and it's all just numbers. And then they just type all these numbers in, and then they press that thing, and it's like 800,000 fatalities.
And then they go, there's going to be 800,000. We predict that they will be.
Listen, they ran that program is so shaky, it could only work on one computer.
Oh, yeah.
In that university, and that it wouldn't work on anything more than a single core computer. So they could only, it was 12 years old when they ran it. And every time they ran it, it got a different result. No one else could replicate the result that they used, which was called like result number 5 or something. That's the one they based Lock in the Country down on. Yeah. And they basically used to run it 3 times, and they would get different answers each time. And then they would just mash all those answers together and get the medium one and go, it's going to be like 50,000 or something. So it's all just total fudging and all that. But it's all numbers. They love this idea of big numbers and moving big numbers around and, and the maths of it all and all that stuff. Yeah.
But it's like people, because like there's a lot of people that think we live in a computer game, or like, the whole like simulation theory and whatever. And
that's what Sims is short for, isn't it? Simulation.
Huh?
What Sims is short for simulation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like, I mean, I don't know like the answer, but I don't kind of. That option may be plausible, like may be true, like if that makes sense. I don't know if it is or not.
I think the simulation is, so when they talk about we're in a simulation, right? How we comprehend it is like we're in some kind of box, like what was that film? What's the film when he's on the bike and all that? Tron or whatever. Is it Tron?
Terminator 2.
Nah, but not Terminator 2. But like you're in a computer game. People are looking at it like you're in a digital computer game.
Ready Player One.
I think it was that Ready Player One where he's in a computer game type thing. Nah, what was the recent one? There was
Avatar.
Kind of like Avatar or
Matrix.
Yeah, even that. But here's the thing. So this is what I'm saying. you know, the same thing with like the law, like you've been getting into law and whatnot.
Yeah.
So the same thing with that, where you understand, like you know, a simple way of explaining it is like there are different laws that we're all, you know, run by, and depending on who you communicate with, you know, you can end up in a different jurisdiction, a different type of law. Yeah, see, Bruce Willis, shout out to Blue Fliggy, he said it's Tron. He's probably, all that time, he's like, man, I'm just chilling, let me just blaze and watch, I ain't gonna comment. He's like, oh, I can't not, you know, oh, nah, Tron. Yeah, it's Tron, I was right, it's Tron. So that's how people are looking at it, like, it's gonna feel and look like you're in some kind of simulation. Here's what I'm saying the simulation is, right? Is the fact that, so you've got, you know, cling film. Imagine you got different colors cling film, yeah? And you keep laying them down. You lay down one color that's green, next color that's yellow, next color that's blue, and all that. All these different colors represent the different jurisdictions that you're walking on. Do you know what I mean? But you don't realize it. And that's how it works. So already there's a simulation of a world. Do you know what I mean? Of what you're living in. But you don't realize it because everything just looks normal and natural, and it is. But then when it comes to communicating, like using whatever terms and conditions that you got to travel this land on, whether it's driving or whether it's going to work or whether it's, you know, passports or all of these sort of things, you don't realize because you're born in it that it's a simulation of what the real world is. You should be able to travel anywhere, just go jump in whatever you want, get to anywhere, and, you know, no one's stopping you. That's how it would have been if there was no law or whatever. But now someone comes in and puts a law on everything, you know, a simulation of how you should live. So in my opinion, that's probably the closest thing we'll get to. You know what I mean?
It's like Disneyland. You go to Disneyland.
Exactly.
And then when you're there, they have their own money. Disneyland money. You buy everything with Disneyland money. When you leave Disneyland, you change your money back up to normal money again. Wow. But while you're in Disneyland, there's all magical things, and there's Disney characters, and, you know, everything's an alternate reality, ain't it? It's a simulation. It's a simulation of all the Disney films. You're in the Disney environment. You know, you're in the Disney world. It doesn't really exist. As soon as you get out of there, if you saw Mickey Mouse again outside Disneyland, it's probably going to abuse you. You know, a man dressed up as Mickey Mouse, probably not going to be the same reaction as the man dressed as Mickey Mouse inside Disneyland. So, you know, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So yeah, in that sense, maybe that's what the simulation is. Is that?
Yeah. Also, it's interesting, like you're saying about, like, obviously we do that when we go to different countries as well.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
We've got to exchange our currency.
Yeah.
This and that, and like some currencies are worth more than others, and obviously the word currency is all like based on like electrical currents and all that type of stuff.
Current in the sea.
Exactly. It's just
a
lot of things are based on they're just in the word.
Your more.
Because we don't.
Shout to Gabby. Shout to your more. In the building.
We don't like kind of, how can I say? Because we don't look at a word deeply or concentrate on what it's really saying. We just say the word and like we don't think about it. Do you get what I mean? But a lot of times, the answer's in the actual word.
Yeah, that's like what I was saying about fast food. The fact it's called fast food. When you fast, you're not eating anything. So when you're eating that food, we shouldn't even call it food, really. When you're eating that stuff.
You might as well be fasting.
Yeah, you might as well be fasting, bro. Deep, boy. Telling you. Deep up in here. Yeah, man. So in terms of the law stuff with the Bible, yeah, I noticed another thing, to go back to that, I noticed another thing, like you were saying about the Trinity. So you've got like the trust law thing, you know, the trust, was it trustee, the grantor and the beneficiary?
Oh, the creditor, the debtor, and you've basically got to go from, you've got like the thing at the top, so, and then you've got the creditor and the debtor, and you've got to try and get from being a debtor to over to being a creditor, is like the name of the game. Basically, it's all based on a ship. So, like, the creditors are the people who are just enjoying the ship and, like, just going on a cruise. Whereas the debtors are the people, the slaves that work for the ship. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So we're all debtors. If you've got a debit card, debit is a word for debt.
Debt, which is related to the word death, isn't it? Debt.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, debt. Yeah, being in debt. Exactly. And also like yeah, so like credit means it's like a plus and negative. If you've got a credit card, you're not in debt, basically. Whereas if you've got a debit card, so to speak, and then you've got like current account. No, you've got you know, like what is it, man? I'm sorry, I'm having a brain freeze now. You know, like you've got
what, credit card, debit card?
No, so you've got a direct. What is it? It's to do with DC and AC.
Oh, direct debit.
Anyway, it's going to come back to me, and I'll explain it. It's to do with like, you know, like you got like Washington, like. Oh, that's it. AC for account means alternate
current.
Yeah, and DC means direct current. That is it.
Oh, right. So
yeah,
when you've got, what is that? The direct account?
You know, like you've got like Washington DC, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Well, the DC means direct current, so it's like the source, whereas the AC means alternate current, which means redshift, blue shift. So it's more of an electrical wave, whereas a direct current is more of a spiritual wave.
See,
it's coming directly from the source, whereas electricity is always, the sine wave is always going up and down. Yeah. So that's inferior. It's an inferior energy.
AC is.
Yeah.
Right. So DC
is more alternating
like,
current.
Yeah. It's turning on and off. Yeah.
Right. I see what you're saying. That's deep, man. Yeah, that's deep right there.
Sorry, I made a bit of a meal of that at the start because I forgot, but then once it came back to me.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I guess, and a lot of things work off of that, innit?
Yeah, it's like a lot of things work off like water and electricity, like a bank.
Yeah.
A river bank, innit?
Yeah. And a bench as well. Bench.
Yeah, bench, bank. Yeah, bench in the courtroom and.
Do you think, do you think there are people out there, that are living in the private that are doing all right off of it, just keeping quiet, and because a lot of people say that it doesn't work. You can't kind of work this system. There's no way to really work around this system, even if you get heavy into studying all the law stuff and that, and
No, I think there is because I know there was a couple of people online. I've seen a few videos of people that apparently have done it, but again, I don't know if they have. Do you get what I'm saying? Because again, we've spoke about this before about the whole birth certificate thing. Because basically, the government uses your birth certificate to make loads of money off you. But apparently, there's an actual way of you claiming all that money.
Yeah, people say that. I don't know if it's true though.
There's one guy who reckons he's done it.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if he has or not. You get what I mean?
Yeah, there's some people that say
you got to be because the thing is, I can imagine it being such a frustrating process because they're going to obviously do everything to block you from doing it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But really, when you think about it, it's It's like you said, bro, in the first place anyway. Like really, like when it comes down to it, it's like really you shouldn't even need to know that because, like you said, we should just be able to go from A to B without a light, whatever. Do you get what I'm saying? As long as you don't harm anyone
Yeah,
in that process,
exactly.
then
Yeah.
do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Mm.
what can anyone really say to you? Like, it's like when you get caught speeding, for example. Like, just say you're doing 35 in a 30,
Yeah.
you've got to then pay £100 fine for just going 5 miles over the limit,
Yeah.
for example. But there was no one in the road was empty, nothing happened, but you got to drain £100, or I've got to go and do a speed awareness course. And again, it's all just to parasite your energy and just, it's just like, it's a discipline thing, isn't it? Again, it's based on the whole like Saturnian thing of being punished for not sticking to the rules. That's all it's to do with.
Bruce Willis was saying, what's that about? What does the government do with your birth certificate? Because you said about they make money off of it.
Yeah, basically when you're born, the government buys your birth certificate from the hospital for like so many hundreds of thousands of pounds, and then they put it on the stock market and use it as bonds, and then through that they just create like loads of wealth. But because that thing is actually yours, if you basically then, because once you your parents sign the birth certificate, you become a dead entity. So then what you have to do is basically get a live birth record, ask for your live birth record to say that you're living. And then once you get through that process, you can kind of claim that money back, supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly, yeah. I don't know if it's true or not. But yeah, there's some whole thing about that with in terms of being a bond, and it's the paper that it's you sign on and whatnot. But yeah, it is quite a intricate bit of work to get
Mate,
into
like
to really
literally,
understand.
it's like I know it to like a very, very, very basic level. Do you get what I'm saying? I wouldn't say like I know like obviously we did a thing about like the language. We did like a show about the language and the letters, and we spoke about it a bit today as well. Yeah. And like how
dog Latin.
About like answering and asking questions when you like, I know all the basic stuff, but like when it comes to like the proper deep intricate stuff, like I know the history of it. Like, for example, all this started in like 1666, you know, like the Great Fire of London.
Yeah.
Apparently it was created so they could pronounce everyone as dead.
Yeah.
And then that's how the kind of the all caps name come about, like from that era, basically.
Yeah, and
so that's why the Great Fire of London happened, because they wanted to pronounce everyone as dead, and by them doing that, they could create this system. And you know, it's called the
KV.
I can never say it.
KV.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
the KV Act. Yeah, and it's in French as well. It's like it's something they brought here, but they wrote it out in French so that no one would understand it, apparently. And the idea is that we are people that were born were lost at sea, because there were a lot of people that were lost that they didn't know who they were at the time. And so they brought that out and said, yeah, because of that, we have to do that. But yeah, the other thing is that in terms of the triangle You know, that Trinity that you're talking about is like
Yeah.
with the whole pantomime that's going on, like you said, is the Hegelian dialectic in it, is the whole sort of like problem, reaction, solution thing.
Yep.
Where you're constantly, and it feels like a lot of this is like for us to keep hoping that someone will save us from this, and you know that someone is the entity that is probably the government or you know whoever at the time that's like dealing with whatever problem it is.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, come on, they gotta do something. No, man, they're gonna do. No, they ain't doing that, you know. And as long as we're going at each other back and forth about
Exactly. It's like
whether it's gonna happen or
it's
not.
spot on. The only people that can save you is you, bruv. Like it's us. We can only save ourselves from either not getting involved in particular things or not running with particular plots, and hence why you've lost the plot. Yeah, we have. You know, like if someone like said to me, "I've lost the plot," like they're actually correct or like people like us who. Because we're not going with the plot, so we have lost the plot. If in a like kind of a literal sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like obviously, what that means to people is that you've gone mad. But like exactly like when we have lost the plot, or it's just like even the word like the Holy Scriptures or a script. What is a script is either written for like a play or like a film. Do you get what I'm saying? So like the fact that they're called scriptures should tell people, again, I don't want to offend people, but I'm just like I'm not trying to offend Christians, Muslims or anything or any religious people, because in all, like I've said, it just like everything is good and bad in this world. It just depends on how you use it and your understanding of that particular thing. Like, for example, in Christianity, you've got like the Gnostics who look at things from more of an esoteric, spiritual kind of perspective and what would kind of relate to more of how I see things. And then you've got mainstream Catholicism, which is very literal. And then you go to Islam, you've got like commercial Islam, but then you go to like the esoteric side, you've got like Sufism, which again is a bit more like spiritual and philosophical, which again I like, and it kind of aligns more with how I see things. And then you got the same in Judaism, like the spiritual sides of that were like people called the Essenes. I've been reading a book called The Gospel of the Essenes. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of them. And like these books were like purposely kind of hidden and left out of the Bible, and they're like kind of someone discovered them and like translated them like recently. And yeah, there's just everything has its like pure side, and everything has its like not so pure side, I guess. So
the light and the dark.
It just depends, man, on your vibe attracts your tribe. That's all I can say at the end of the day.
That's a good
so
one.
like whatever you're vibrating at, that's what you're gonna attract. So get what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that.
I don't kind of like mainstream Christianity or Islam. Not I don't like it. It's too basic and boring for me. Do you get what I mean? It doesn't like. There's no. I don't know. It's just. Like I said, when I read about Gnosticism or I read about Sufism, I like it because it's just there's more to it. It's delving deeper, and like I said, adding those bit of extra toppings onto it and seeing it from more of a different angle. Do you get what I mean? So it just all depends on the individual, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very true.
In Judaism, they obviously have the Kabbalah as well, so that's something you're not supposed to read it until you're like 35 or something.
Yeah,
you're not even qualified to read it.
All
But then
right.
that's their sort of mysticism thing that they can go into.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I've done a lot of research into Kabbalah. Very interesting subject.
Yeah, that's what is that Madame Blavatsky. She's about all of that, right?
Yeah, you know what the Kabbalah? You've seen like the 10 Sephiroth, haven't you? Have you seen that
Yeah.
that diagram, like in
The tree
like
of life.
Judaism,
Yeah.
like the 10 Sephiroth?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like those 10 Sephiroths are also the 10 planets, basically. So the bottom one, which is Malkuth, is Earth. And then the top one, which is Kepha, is the ether. And then all the ones in, so it goes Malkuth, which is Earth. And then you got Yesod, which is the moon. Then you got Hod, Mercury. Netzar is Venus. Tiferet, the sun. Gebura, Mars. Chesed is Jupiter. Binah is Saturn. Hokmah is Uranus. And Keter is Neptune. They're the 10 Sephiroth in the Jewish tree of life, basically. And each one of those are... I could break it down if I had a diagram and whatever. Do you want me to share my screen and show it to you?
Yeah, go on, man. You might as well.
Yeah,
man.
that's only if you want.
Yeah, do it. Hey. I'll full screen you.
Yeah. Let's get that.
Cool.
So the question
you've got
allow.
Yeah, allow me to share screen.
The question I want to ask, Mem, is
yeah.
So all the way back then, from when the Kabbalah was made, they could see Uranus and Neptune.
Yeah. It was in the Greek. It was in the Greek mythology as well.
For real, innit? Neptune, of course.
And Uranus as well.
Wow.
Like it's called Uranus.
Yeah.
So like,
I forgot. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't know about like them saying that they only saw it after. Because again, we don't know what technology they had back then. Do you get what I'm saying? Maybe they had telescopes and stuff that they say they didn't. Do you get what I'm saying? It's hard to really...
Yeah, they did have... There are pieces of polished glass in the British Museum that were telescope. You know, they're optical lenses. That you could easily just hold two of them and magnify something. They're in the British Museum. They're thousands of years old. You never really hear about them.
And they talk about... What? They're trying to say that they only just found them planets like a few years ago and that.
Yeah, but again, like... With history, that's what I'm saying. History is very like tricky to kind of judge because like it's just like we're just taking people's word for it. Like
his story.
It's just like it may be true, but just maybe the dates ain't true. Maybe like they've made it seem more recent than it actually is.
Yeah, true.
Do you get what I mean? It's like I don't know.
There's a calculation that they do, right, with Egyptian history, with non-Egyptian history, right? So I can't remember what this calculation is called. You can look it up. You take any date. So if you've got a date in like European history, African history, Asian history, you times it by 100 and divide it by 80, and then that gives you the true year of it.
Right.
Why is that?
But everything in Egypt they don't do that with, right? So all history in Egypt they claim is the real history. All the Egyptian history is perfectly fine. There's no problems with it at all. But everyone else outside of Egypt has somehow fucked up their history books. So they have to do this calculation, and then that gives you the correct time of it, sort of thing. So there's certain histories that line up in Europe and Egypt, but because of this calculation, it puts the timelines out so they don't line up anymore.
Right.
So things like the Bible and Egyptian history would line up if you didn't do this date calculation thing, but because they do that to the Bible as well, they say times 100 divided by 8 or whatever it is. So you end up with all these weird timelines that don't really meet up, and as a result, they've ended up making the Egyptian history copy itself twice. So there's certain lines of kings that repeat. after 1,000 years, they repeat again.
Yeah.
And so they'll say, oh, this person had this happen, this event happened in his life. Then 1,000 years later, this other pharaoh with the same name had this event happen in his life. And they make out it's two different kings, but actually it's the same kings. They've just extended these timelines out. So there's like this whole anomaly in time to do with Egyptian
they say
pharaohs and all that.
In astrology that every 600 years that there's a new like prophet kind, you know, like because like Muhammad came 600 years after Jesus. So they say there's like this kind of thing. They say that every 600 years there's like a new prophet, and that kind of reminded me of kind of what you're saying. Every 1,000 years there's this like, because if you obviously you remember like Zeitgeist, the movie Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Because that's what the first part was saying about how all these different religions and myths are all the same as a Jesus story. Basically. But they're just like got different names and different cultural like references and this and that. So like, yeah, it's just, do you know what? Like sometimes like, I think we try to answer. You know what it is, like what I've come to conclude as well sometimes, bro. I think, you know, what we don't do as humans is like be a bit more honest and just say that we don't know everything. Whereas we just sometimes make shit up just to pretend to know. So like, it's like almost like the ego of man has to make up all these theories to kind of make himself look good or to control people, like for example.
I think a big part of it is to control people. Like I think that's why a lot of ideologies have become, you know, like true all-out faiths. You know what I mean? Is where people have put their like if you think about like they say, you know, apparently people used to sacrifice their children or let alone their animals and whatnot. They would sacrifice family. You know what I mean? And give up to the gods, and that's all off the back of belief. That's like now we think about that now. You think later, that's crazy. Like what? That might be, you know, if you heard about that happen to someone live around the corner from you, you'd be like, what? They sacrificed them to the gods. Like later, they sacrificed their little baby. Yo, that is madness. But that happened. That used to happen at a certain point in time, as far as we're told, you know, in history and whatnot. And that was all based on a belief.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, like, but these beliefs or these stories, I think that are allegories that people have literalized themselves, basically. Like, for example, the Abraham story, or like the Moses story about the like golden calf and Aaron and all that. Like, it's just they're like occulted stories, like I've mentioned, just about how like things work, like astrologically or astronomically or biologically or. But there's many layers to all of these stories, and it, like I said, like we mentioned before, it's not just one layer. But yeah, man. I mean, each to their own. At the end of the day, I'm not one to say like I'm right and you're wrong. It's just that we all see things from a different perspective, due to our upbringing, due to the knowledge we have, due to what we've watched, what we've read, how we are as people. We've all got like unique perspectives on how to see life, on how we interpret things. But so I'm not gonna sit here and say that, oh, I'm right and everyone else is wrong. No, this is just the way I see it and the knowledge I've learned, and that's what I'm sharing at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just like sometimes I think, like I just said, like when I think about a lot of the debates I used to have, and I used to think, I debated with someone about this, but I don't even know the answer myself. But yeah, at the time, I sat there and debated with the person because of an ego issue. But really, like when you like check yourself, you think, like, I don't even know the answer to that myself. But so, like, but again, that's all a part of learning and maturing. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's all part of the journey, isn't it? That's that, and the journey is what we really got to enjoy because you don't know when it's gonna end. You know what I mean? So I think it's important for a lot of people. Shout out to Bruce Willis. I think, what was he talking about there then? He's saying about Billy Ocean had Caribbean Queen, African Queen, and European Queen to get his message across the different territories. On point. The Crystal Lady says, this is why I love Mem. Damn right. You're not lying right there. You know what I mean? Always dropping some knowledge for us. You just got to share your screen quickly, innit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you should be
Sorry,
right
man.
to do it, yeah.
Let's go. So desktop share.
Shit you might not never know nothing about, mother lovers. Always. You know what I mean?
Where is my where I've got it.
King Chico. Shout out to the uncommon senses, by the way. I think we got to call them uncommon senses because we don't think as common as most folk do out there. I'm telling you that right damn now.
What was the thing? What was it yesterday? Popular believers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lot ain't popular believers.
Nah, you're not popular believers, man. You can't be rolling with them popular believers out there. You know what I mean? Uncommon senses up in this.
Popular believers.
Yeah, all religions are similar, for real. So that's what Blue was saying. Yeah, all religions being similar. It's like, yeah, you basically just go out and give them what they want. And then think about, like, when you just look at Christianity, look at how many would you wants are out there. You can be this, you can be that, you can be, oh, you don't like this, well, hear that. You know what I mean? In some form of way, have you delving deep and having your emotions drawn into something that you don't know about. So this is the Sephiroth.
Yeah, I'm the 10 Sephiroth, basically.
10 Sephiroth.
Let's see.
This is to do with the Kabbalah.
Yeah, and it's to do with astrology.
It's based on astrology.
Yeah.
And these names are they're like Hebrew names.
Yeah, so you can see here, right?
Yeah, I've got you on the main big screen, yeah.
So you can see here, like, yes, so you've got, so that's like, would be like the highest heaven, and this would be earth. This would represent earth, basically. And then when you look at here, you've got 7 levels. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that represents like the 7 chakras, basically, in this system. So basically, yeah, you're going from spirit, which is up here, to matter, basically. And then, like I said, each one of these Sephiroths are the 7 planets, basically. Or there's 10 here, including obviously the Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune as well. But this is ultimately what I was explaining.
Yeah, okay.
So you can see, the sun here in the middle.
The sun's in the middle, yeah. So that's...
And you see like these lines, like this is like the Union Jack, basically. Because Jack is the sun as well.
Okay.
And that's like, because you know, like the Union Jack is based on the seasons. Have I explained that before?
The Union Jack?
Yeah, you know, like the flag, the Union Jack.
Based on the seasons. So
yeah,
the 4 seasons.
I'll explain it to you. 1 minute.
And that leads back to the Kabbalah.
It's all connected, like, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can kind of.
Because like, if you see here, this is in the middle. This is Jack, because the Jack is the sun, basically.
Wow. Yeah.
And everything comes to the middle, so that's like the Union Jack, basically. But The actual union.
Union. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
But what I'm saying
That's
is,
deep.
see,
That's deep.
This is the equator, and these are the cross quarter days. So this would be, just say, Aries, Taurus, Cancer, Leo, Libra, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Aquarius. So this is the 4 cardinal signs and the 4 fixed signs. And obviously, it's got the whole like red shift, blue shift in it, which comes from the white, because white light is what creates red and blue. So there's so much science in all these symbols and all these.
That's deep, man.
Because obviously the sun is white light, and white light is the rainbow condensed, basically.
Oh, that's what it becomes, white light, if you condense all those frequencies together.
Because basically when you shine, I'll show you. Let me just 1 second.
We're here when
you shine, like, I'm sure I have this picture, bear with me. Is it up? Or no, it's in here. Bear with me, sorry.
Yeah, what's the roll call out there? Whilst we're waiting, we'll get the roll call out there. You know what I mean? It's never too late for that roll call. 11:11. You know what I mean? 11:33 up in here.
It's the best time for roll call.
Can you see this picture?
Yes.
Right, basically, when you shine your torch from your phone onto your TV screen, it creates the electromagnetic spectrum. Anyone can do this, basically. Just get your phone, shine it on the telly, and it will create a rainbow. So black and white light always creates red and blue light, basically, which is red shift and blue shift at one end.
Yeah.
So it's the rainbow.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. Okay.
So that's how
that's a torch.
That's a simple experiment you can do to basically, you can say to someone, all colours come from black light, which is still, and white light, which is moving. And when you rub those two together, it creates a hybrid, which is called electricity, which is the electromagnetic spectrum, basically.
Yeah, I've been seeing it seems like a lot more people are getting closer to that whole free energy, like sourcing free energy.
Yeah. But and look, you can see like the whole Union Jack thing even in this. Do you get what I'm saying? You've got the line going across the middle, and then you got the cross quarter lines, and then you got the cross going through here. It's all like based on science and just how life works, but it's just that we don't know that, basically. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, unless there was anything else you want me to show you, or...
That was deep, man. No, unless there's anything else that was interesting that you've come across. Okay. That was deep, boy. Cheers for that, bruv. Jeez. So, you see it there. Even the Union Jack, bruv. We're looking at it just like it's a flag. It represents this, this kingdom. Yeah,
but another thing, because if you go, to the Vatican in the middle, let me just share my screen, sorry, one more time.
So Blue saying that flag was never made the official flag of the UK.
Vatican.
Shout out to King Chico on the Amnesia, Robbie Love, Hashish. Your Moore says can't remember, but something strong as fuck. Can't feel my hands or feet. Brilliant pain relief.
If you can't remember anything, you can't feel your hands and feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's even in
probably
here,
some
bro.
Sort of sativa.
In the Vatican.
Wow.
No, it's probably indica, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah. Indica. Oh, look at that. Look,
Let's go. Yeah, right, we're there. That's it.
Wow.
This is the Vatican, so you got the whole
Yeah.
Union Jack thing even here as well.
Yeah.
And like basically
So what does that
different
mean?
times of the year, there's the sun casts shadows at these different points. So then that's how you know what season you're in.
Oh, so that dial will,
Yeah, it's like a sundial.
yeah. Wow. So I wonder, does that mean then, because that's in the Vatican, you said, right? That's in Vatican
Yep.
City. So does that mean, is that like a hidden, is that an esoteric form of, kingdomship? Like, are they really planting their flag here when they put the Union Jack there?
No, it's just, what do you mean? Like
what I'm saying is, so we're looking at it like it's the Union Jack, it's the United Kingdom flag,
yeah,
but really, is it the Roman Empire's flag?
basically. It's sun symbolism. That's what it is. Ultimately, it's just sun worship.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but like,
I guess.
but at the same time,
Union Jack.
there's science behind it. Do you get what I mean? It's not just like worship. There's meaning to what all these lines mean, and do you get what I'm saying? It's not just like it just depends on like how deep you want to look at it, basically.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. It's true. My mind's wandering.
It's just,
oh wow, you see it there now. Before I never saw it. I've seen this picture a few times, but I've never seen it, like that. Once you pointed out the Union Jack, and you're like, oh my gosh, because like we're saying, they seem to be everywhere. We ain't never there.
I mean, there's probably so many things I've got on here that I could show you, but yeah, like if you want to talk about a specific subject another day.
Yeah, man.
The thing is, like with what we talk about, it's all connected, so you always end up kind of talking about different stuff anyway. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Mr.
But
Green.
yeah, it's just I'm into like symbols and like knowing. Oh, there's so many. Like for example, I see a video the other day of some video that Santos did in Mexico where he went to visit some pyramid. And he was saying that on each side of the pyramid there was 91 steps. So when you times that by 4, it's 364, which is like a solar year. And he said he was just showing how like the ancients always encoded these things in their artifacts, and it's just, I don't know if they did it for like us to like work out, or like they were places of ritual. Again, who knows? It's like people say, oh, who built the pyramids? And
364 is also 13 times 28 days. It's 13 lunar months. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like it's like some particular kind of order that, that sort of like that priest class felt like we should live by. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously along the way things got corrupted or whatever, but it seems that way, because even with numbers and that, it feels like they want to follow a certain sort of pattern to make sure everything lines up, and it's not just with the language, it's also with the stars as well. So it's almost like everything in conjunction has to work and flow in order for it to feel like it's part of nature, part of what is real. You know what I mean? So
it's weird though, like I've come to kind of have a different, like for example, like when I do gematria and like certain words come to certain numbers, and used to think, right, and it's the same meaning as the actual word, and like sometimes I think, wow, this is like mad, but like it is mad, but at the same time, I think I'm kind of starting to debate whether it's just. I think it's a lot less natural and more set up that way, if that makes sense. rather than it kind of just generically, like, just naturally being like that. Like, for example, like, have you heard of the word tetragrammaton?
Yeah.
That means the four-name word for God, yeah?
Mm.
Well, when you break that down in gematria, it comes to 166, which is 13, 661, and then you break down 13 and it comes to 4. But it's ironic that the numerical value of tetragrammaton, which means four-name word for God, equals 4.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm saying is, like, to me, that's not a coincidence. Like, that's been set up, I think, by the people who coded the English language. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas before, I used to think, well, I kind of thought it was something more spooky to it, but as I've kind of looked into it more, it's just, again, it's just like a code. Basically, ultimately, what we're doing by talking about all this is just deciphering the codes of this place.
Yeah.
That's ultimately all we're doing.
Yeah. It is literally, that's literally what it is.
Like, do you get what I'm saying? By knowing that, this letter or this means, it's like, it's just like a complex code. And but like that's all it is. Like how I mentioned before, like the word by also like reduces to 2 in numerology, and pineal comes to 3, and it's your third eye, and you know, just all these little things that you can notice basically. But like, yeah, it's just all, I don't know, like, yeah, man, I just think, again, it's just, I think that the English language is just the most updated version of the code.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Of like the code of this place we're in.
Well,
you get what I'm saying? Because it's the main language of the earth. And yeah, it's just like the most updated version basically. And within it, there's little codes, like 26 letters. Like there's 26 letters in the English alphabet, but the word in the Kabbalah, 26 is the gematria for Yod He Vah, which is Jehovah. And also, like, for example, you know, like in the alphabet where you go 1 to 26 and then you start again, and then G ends up being the 33rd letter. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So you 26
keep counting
plus
the numbers.
7.
Yeah, you just keep counting
so then,
with A
like,
again. There's 27.
G becomes the 33rd, and that's the Masonic G, and etc. But when you start looking at like the doubles, so for example, like 26 times 2 is 52. And that's the number of the weeks and the playing cards in the card deck. And then when you add another 26 onto that, you get 78, which is the tarot card deck.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you got a lot of like Kabbalah stuff, like cross. If you look at the English alphabet, you see a lot of things like reference. Like, for example, you know, like you've got QRSTU. You know, you've got that in the English alphabet.
Yeah.
Well, that's Christ or Christu.
Christu, yeah.
It's hidden in the alphabet.
QRSTU.
Yeah, QRST,
Christ.
Christ
Yeah.
or Christ.
Right.
Because you know that they say the alphabet is a spell. It actually says something,
Oh
which
wow.
Abkadevsky, Jekyll Monop, Kristovic says.
What? What?
Apparently, they used to say it on Sesame Street.
Yeah, that sounds like a spell later. Say that again to unspell it. Like, jeez.
Abkadevsky, Jekyll Monop, Kristovic says.
Jeez.
Sounds like a town in Syria.
Yeah, but then when you look at like the Hebrew alphabet, they've also got the QRST with their 4 last letters in their alphabet, which is Kuf, Resh, Shin, and Tav, and that also spells Christ as well. So when you like start analyzing the two, and there's so many connections, bro. It's just like it's unreal, man.
The alphabet's quite like heavily weighed towards the front end with the vowels, isn't it? A, E, I, O somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
U's all
and
the way.
U,
So,
yeah,
you
and Y as
use,
well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't use Y
I mean,
as much. It's like right at the very end.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just there's so many like little cross references. A lot of it is, and another thing as well. Now I said the number 26. In the periodic table, number two. Also, I know that's what I was going to say. 26 reduces to 8 in numerology, and the words El and God also reduce to the number 8. So that's another connection, like in the numerology, why there's 26 letters. There actually used to be 27, but they deleted the. It's called, you know, the and symbol.
Ampersand, yeah.
Yeah, the ampersand, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that used to be the 27th letter.
yeah. They used to be in the A, B,
Alphabet.
C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, X, Y, Z, and ampersand. Blah, some little saying they used to have at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like, and
So,
don't forget ampersand.
Yeah, man, there's just there's loads of connections, man. But,
yeah, and also even with the shapes of the letters as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like how you know, say like letter like M, you know, it's the shape of a 3, and it's I think it's the 13th letter.
Yep, it is the 13th letter, but the M is also to do with like the water, like the maritime, Mary, marine.
Yeah, and it's in the middle, isn't it?
It's like a wave, isn't it? And the W as well.
Yeah,
the W and the M.
And W's the 23rd. W's the 23rd letter.
Yep.
So there's 3s in both of them, and then you got C is the 3rd letter, and it's like half an M or half a W. You get what I mean? I can see the shape of it. And then you got there's so many different little things like that which are really interesting.
Yeah, but you know the A comes from the Hebrew. You know the Aleph in the Hebrew.
Yeah.
It was an ox's head.
Yeah.
But then it got turned around, and then by the time it came to English, it became like an A shape, but upside down. Because you know, like the A is like this, isn't it?
Yeah.
But upside down, it's like a bull's head. It's an ox's head, which is originally what the A was in the Hebrew alphabet, and that pop before that, wherever they got it from as well.
Shout out to Gleam in the building. He's got a cracking joke, man, Mr. Green.
So what you're saying is that the English language is like the sort of highest form of the language at the moment. because it's got all these encoded things
it's
like
got all these encoded
God
stuff.
is still encoded in the same number as the word L was. It's still got the
Yeah,
same. Yeah,
it's just like,
and whether it's natural or whether it's been organized, it just is for some reason.
yeah,
like that,
exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know that for a fact, but
No,
personally, I think it's just like too good to be true for it to be natural.
Yeah. It's too
But
coincidental.
again,
but
I
then
don't know, man.
But
It's
then there's
just
also
like,
so many things that fit in that it's almost like to have invented all of that without it being some sort of natural order as well. To have thought of all these different possible little twists and turns, and it almost like has to be like it is sort of natural as well. There is something sort of predetermined about it or something, or
I think it's probably a bit of both,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest.
there's like a pattern and a blueprint that always shows through, and whatever language is being used at the time, it shows through in that language, and the words organize themselves into numbers and all the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly, because that's why we call it grammar.
Because even the
gram
numbers,
is a measurement, so each letter has a measurement. That's why it's got a particular number. Hence, we say grammar.
and even the numbers are the same, innit? They've come from someone's made them up. Someone said this is the measurement for this, or
Yeah, exactly.
But there's but it's like a sort of, if you want to believe that it's like a sort of organized conspiracy, that's fine. But if you want to believe it's natural order, that's also like a really
like,
pleasant way of seeing it. Is that like this is some sort of natural order that just is.
It is in a sense as well, because it's just like an evolution, basically. It's just like taking all the languages and like just making one big language, if that makes sense, with all these different languages. It's just like diluting something even more from its purest form, basically. That's the way I kind of see it. It's just like in English, you've got a lot of different words from a lot of different language. Like, for example, like we call the study of man anthropology. Well, anthropo means man in Greek. That's where it comes from. So it's got bits of Greek in it as well. But then when you look at the Greek, Arabic, and Hebrew, they're all pretty much the same alphabet with slight differences. Like, for example, the yod in Hebrew is called yod, but in Greek it's called iota.
right.
And they're the same numerical value as well. They're number 10.
Wow. Yeah.
So because I'm just thinking if people are skeptical of all this sort of stuff.
No.
It's not much of a stretch of the imagination to think that because we are just a sort of natural organism on a natural place, that all these sort of systems are working in the background all the time. And although we think like, well, I'm going to invent a new language, or I'm going to start writing something down, it's like that's all these numbers are still playing out in the back of your mind, and because your body's still made of all these different ratios and all this sort of stuff. So everything's always going to come out in these different ratios and calculations, And like you said earlier, we're not sort of we're not decoding it all. We're just noticing all these little patterns that are just
it's just
the way that nature divides down, and just it's like a fractal model.
Yeah, it just depends. Like I said, like some people are into this shit. Like someone might be watching this and think, what a bunch of nerds. Like, why would they want to know all this? And like, what difference is it going to make? And this and that. And do you get what I mean? Like, but at the same time, that's just all to do with we've all got different purposes of why we're here and what we want to learn. And Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, again, like that's what I'm saying. Even if people do things that I don't necessarily agree with or it doesn't resonate with me, it's like before I'd be like, oh, I'd be more like arrogant or more negative towards maybe that person or their idea. But now I've just come to understand that everyone's here on their own journey and they just got to do it their way and that's it. Do you get what I mean?
And I think that's one of the trickiest sort of notions to have to come to terms with. You know what I mean? Is realizing like, wow, it really is like that. Like there's people that you can know for years and whatnot, but then, you know, what's arise like over the last couple of years and whatnot has really made it like, oh, I didn't know you. I thought I knew you, but now I do know you. And I have to accept that that's who you are. You know what I mean? In this short space of time, I've known you for all that long, but right now I have to accept that in a way that, you know what I mean, that I wouldn't have had to if I'd have known that ages ago sort of thing, you know. But it's weird, but I think it's enlightening because at the same time, like you said, you attract the people that what did you say?
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah. Your vibe attracts your tribe. I like that one, man. Yeah. That's what seems to be happening at the end of the day, and it feels better anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, you don't want to always be in somebody's face saying this, that, and the third. It's better when you can say it with people that want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? Or want to collaborate on the conversation. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to like people like, oh yeah, okay, it's a bit mad, but you know what I mean?
It's like sometimes I would start talking about something, and then what if I notice that it's not going too well, or like this person's thinking, oh, what the fuck are you talking about? I'll just kind of stop. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you're gonna get too deep on him.
Or like there's sometimes like I remember someone asked me a question once and I was about to answer it and then I thought, do you know what? I said, do you know what, bruv, if I'm being honest, like it's gonna take me ages to answer it and I'm gonna be talking about stuff that you ain't looked into and it's just gonna sound like a bunch of gibberish, so I'd rather like not waste my time. Like not in a bad, like not in a how can I say, I'm not saying that in an arrogant way.
No, not at all. It's humble because it's
like,
just,
do you get what I'm saying? I'd just rather not like.
You're wasting your time and theirs because they're not
he's wasting your time, bro.
No, but you're being compassionate to them because you're not going to bore them with stuff that they're just going to, and also you're going to have that thing of them like going at some point, and then you feel bad about yourself as well, like, oh no, I've over talked. Or I shouldn't have shared as much with this person. I knew it weren't going to work out. They weren't going to understand. You know, so you've got that disappointment that you're always having to go through with people. Whereas if you just don't say anything,
that's why I was saying earlier that like, I'm a bit selective in who I go there with. Like with you guys, I don't care. Like we've spoke so many times that like. Whatever, like I'm just comfortable just to be me. Do you get what I'm saying? But like sometimes it's weird. Like a good what? Like I was in Cyprus. When I was in Cyprus, for example, one of my older cousins, she stayed with us, and we just set up one night and. I just I thought, let me go there and just see what like the reaction is. Yeah. But the thing is that she kind of got it. Do you get what I'm saying? And it was nice. And she was like, oh, wow, like you've really helped me understand things like from a different perspective. And, do you know, and another thing as well, I think that sometimes like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, like you said, I think there's certain people you can talk to about these things, and there's just certain people that you can't. And you just got to try and figure out when that is, basically.
You're right about that, boy. Definitely right about that. I don't think it's worth, like we're saying, it's not worth spending all your time and energy on deaf ears. You know what I mean? Not everybody wants to hear, not everybody wants to see. And that's up to them, man. And you can't even be upset with them about it either, because that's just, they don't know what you know, you know?
People don't realise, it's just like, people's like, oh, can you teach me this? Or can you like tell me about this? And I'm like, do you have 9 years of time? Or do you have 10 years of time? Because that's how much time I've been looking into and trying to learn this stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not as easy as just like I always try and encourage people to learn it themselves. Like, I can teach you or show you how things work, but if you don't feel it and understand it yourself, then do you get what I'm saying? That's another thing that I always try and tell people, is just like, it's good to listen to other people, but if you're not getting what they're saying, like if you're not feeling it, should I say, and like if it's not resonating with you, then it's not for you. But then if it is, then it is. Like,
but that process can take not just the process of learning something, but the process of ingesting it and like internalizing it, and then applying it in life, getting feedback from it, sorting out which parts of it weren't real and which parts of it were real, and then like integrating it into like the way you live your life. That takes, you can learn something, you can read books about anything for years and years, but actually like integrating it as wisdom is different.
Yeah, that's
exactly. So like, for example, I'll give you an example. Very like true. I've been learning about astrology since 2015, right? So that's like
7 years.
7 years now. I only recently started doing readings for people. Do you get what I'm saying? So like what I'm saying, I've had to acquire that many years of learning it before I can know how to read someone's chart. You can't just learn how to read someone's chart in 2 years.
Or too intellectual.
In 1 year, or do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, you've got to like proper learn it, and you can never stop learning anyway. There's just so much information.
So much, man.
But like with me now, the point I've come to is that when I watch things or videos, I do come across a lot of repetitive information, which I was telling you, Mice, like recently. But the thing is that even within that, you'll always find a couple of gems that will help you, like, kind of think, oh, I didn't know that part of it. But I like that type of things now when I'm watching videos and stuff like that. But generally, it's also with me, it's like got to a point where maybe I need to kind of look at something that I would have never looked at, rather than when you study the same thing for so long, you start getting repetitive themes, or it becomes like repetitive. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like with me now, like when in terms of like astrology, the next part I want to kind of focus on and learn is like medical astrology, and like I know it, but like I'm just saying in more detail. Like knowing, for example, if you've got a bad Mars placement, you can take this herb, and so there's a whole science behind that as well. Do you get what I mean? So like that's one like thing that I want to kind of go a bit deeper into.
How do you know you got a bad Mars placement?
Depending on.
How do you know?
Chocolate on your sofa.
Yeah, I've never liked the Mars chocolate.
Chocolate on your sofa. Chocolate on your chest, boy. You wake up.
Yeah, basically, depending on which sign it's in,
hopefully
or
it's chocolate.
whether there's a planet opposing it or squaring it, or that's how you know in a chart whether you've got bad Mars placement. Like I have got a bad Mars placement.
Oh, that's why you picked it.
So, like, for example, like Mars is about action and fighting and like being quite aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But because my Mars is in Libra, which is about balance and justice, I'm more about being a peacemaker, and that energy doesn't match with Libra because Libra's about partnerships and being balanced, whereas Mars is about action and fighting. So when Mars is in Libra, them two energies don't mix.
Right.
That would be a bad. So Libra, in medical astrology, is the kidneys. So then Mars, the planet, is hot and dry. So it might be causing like some heat to your kidneys. So then to counterbalance it, you might take something that's cool for the kidneys. So that's how kind of medical astrology works.
Rub some arnica on your kidneys.
Interesting.
Yeah, but like I said, I know it, but I'm not, and I wouldn't never give anyone medical advice on it.
If you saw a man bleeding on the street, you're not going to be like,
for example,
what's your star sign? All right.
Yeah, what's your star sign?
No, but do you know what time you were born? Like what time? Okay, hold on. Let me just stop the bleeding.
You're not helping.
Let me stop the bleeding. All right, lift your leg. Put your leg here.
Need to know what time he was born.
Yeah. No, I'll call them in a minute. I'm just gonna let me give you. All right, I need to go. Like, go on lunch. There's no Wi-Fi. Yeah,
I think it was one Greek. Was it Hippocrates or was it? I think it was him that said, "If a doctor don't know astrology, he's not a doctor." One ancient Greek philosopher, said that if a doctor don't know astrology, he's not a doctor. But again,
see, we don't hear about that, innit? We don't hear about that. But
because,
man,
for example, if you're Capricorn in the body is the kneecaps. So if you've got like loads of planets in Capricorn, you might be inclined to have problem with your knees or your bones, for example. Or like if you've got like Saturn in Aries is your head. Saturn is cold and like restricting, so it might have something to do with like headaches or whatever. So like that's how it works when you look at a chart.
You might be more prone
medically, basically.
So people with back problems, like lower back problems,
or whatever, like anything, like it just. And also, there's like, you can take particular herbs that will kind of counterbalance it, or if you've got less of something, you can up it. And there's so many different, because that all ties into like the whole alchemy thing as well. With like, each planet is correlated to like a metal.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got like the sun is gold, moon is silver, Mercury is mercury, Venus is copper, Mars is iron, Jupiter is tin, and Saturn is lead. So that's why, I don't know if you've heard the saying, turning lead into gold. Have you ever heard that saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like going from because Saturn is lead and gold is the sun. So that's why they say you need to turn your lead into gold.
Right. Yeah. Jeez, DVG dropping some more gems on us. You need to turn your lead into gold, mother lovers. That's right, man. Yo, we appreciate you coming through, bruv, man. Always.
No, thank you for having me, man. I mean, I'm sorry.
Man, it's love.
Like a lot of this, I know we've spoke about a lot of this stuff in like through just like, I don't know how many shows we've done, 3 or 4 shows. Like probably through like in them shows we've spoke about a lot of this stuff before, but it's just the subject that come up, so that's why.
Nah, but for real, people don't. You know what people's memories are like these days, man. And also, we got new people coming in and out, tuning. You know what I mean? Tuning in and out. So we gotta make sure that they are up to speed. And obviously, go back to previous episodes if you lot are a bit confused on what we're talking about, man. But yeah, you know, it's a lot of stuff that we've gone over. It's just like once you start uncovering more and more, you realize how deep it goes and how real it is. Do you know what I mean? So that's the interesting part about it. But it's always good to get you on, man. Shout out to Robbie Love. He mentioned, he said, yeah, check the Temple of Hip Hop, getting hip hop recognized as a recognized culture by the UN and UNESCO.
Could be the end of it.
Could be the end of it.
That's hip hop over then.
KRS in the UN on the 50th anniversary. Oh, the big 5-0. Yeah, but we should definitely do one about the numerology because I think that's something people do get baffled with. I believe I saw.
Right. Yeah. Just let me know, man.
Robbie
Next time I can, get a board ready and.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Do some stuff. I mean, the numerology, just to break it down simply, is just that if you got a double digit number, you just add the two numbers to find its digital root, which is a single number. So obviously 77, for example, is 5 because 7 and 7 is 14 and 1 and 4 is 5.
So it's only 1 to 9, basically, the number 1 to 9 you're using.
Yeah, so
you reduce it.
That's pretty much the basic gist of numerology. But then it's just knowing that, what each number represents and what this number is in the periodic table, and this is this, and for example, if you look at astrology or the periodic table, all the things that are to do with the sun and moon all kind of come to the number 9. I'll give you an example. The sun rules in the 5th sign, which is Leo, and the moon rules in the 4th sign, which is Cancer. So 4 and 5 equals 9. So that sun and moon thing represents perfect harmony. But then if you look at the two metals, I just mentioned the two metals, silver and gold correlates to the moon and the sun. Well, if you add up their two numbers in the periodic tables, it also reduces to the number 9. So then you look at all these different things in occultism and stuff, and then anything to do with the sun and moon always comes to number 9, for example. Just little things like that, basically.
The divine
that
number
more
9.
Kind of meaning to it once you know what they all mean. And how I mentioned earlier, what with the 144,000 and what that really means, and it's just.
Yeah, boy. Mem taking us there, man. Nah, definitely we got to do that one. The numerology, I think, will blow people's heads off, man, because there's a lot about it that is and you realize why. It's almost like we're talking about the law. It's almost like that's another simulation, when it comes to math, and that's a whole nother, geometry.
It is, because if you think about
it's amazing.
A lot of the numbers of the legal age is 16. 1 and 6 is 7. 7 is a completion. It's a set, or for example,
set.
8, or you can only do something when you're 18. 18 is 1 and 8 is 9, and all this again. How you just mentioned how it correlates with the law, and
there's some law we abide by, boy. That's it. And that's I think that's what we're scratching away and trying to find out. What is that law? I want to understand it as well, so I can see how I can navigate through all of this.
Yeah, just for people who are interested in a lot of the maritime law and like the legal versus law and the common law versus the legal system, I would like suggest you watch a channel called the Glosser Channel, and it's by a guy called Romley Stewart.
Yeah, Justinian Deception, yeah.
Yeah, Justinian Deception, yeah. And then I suggest you watch a guy called Mark Christopher Kishon.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's on YouTube anymore, but he's on like all them other sites, like what are they called? What's the other site?
Odyssey.
BitChute, yeah, all those type of stuff. But I think he's on Facebook as well, like Mark Christopher Kishon. That's who I got a lot of my info from, and he was a student of a guy called David Wynne-Miller who got killed.
Yeah.
And he like literally, bro, like if you watch one of his like lessons on like letters and like how he breaks it down, it is on some next level that's even beyond me. Like it's just, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people might think all this stuff I'm saying is deep and all this. It is, but it's, trust me, it's like very basic level in terms of the knowledge and the subjects we're talking about. I'm not claiming to be no like guru or like wizard in knowing all the knowledge, because I'm not. I literally like humbly say that I do know a lot of knowledge, but it's at a very basic level.
Yeah, man, you know your stuff, bro. Trust, man. You know your stuff. I know what you mean, though. It's in terms of like just getting deeper and deeper into it. There are people that really have spent, you know what I mean, eons on this. But yeah, man, I've just posted your YouTube if people want to catch up on any of your videos as well that you've done. Also, you can contact Mem or get some lessons in from him at syncretismsociety.com. I'll post that in the comment section as well. Put that in the description and whatnot. And Mem, man, it's always good to have you up here, man. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it. It's
nice.
always catch up and exchange ideas, man.
You're always welcome. And,
thank you, man.
Yeah, you seem a lot more. I don't know. You seem a lot more sort of in yourself now. I don't know what.
Last time was a bit of a.
You've had a sort of
few months,
rough few months. So, you know,
settling.
I hope everything's becoming. Hopefully. Yeah, that's it. I hope you're feeling a bit better and
man,
everything's becoming a bit more, you know, in you again.
Yeah.
Definitely, man. Love as always, man. Yeah, man. I'm gonna shout you as well, man. Over the weekend, bruv. We'll have a catch up.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime you want, man.
Yes, man. Love always for coming through, man. Let's get some fire emojis, some love up in there in the comment section by the uncommon senses for our brother, Mem DVG. Always a good conversation, man. And always thank you, everyone, for locking in as well. What we must do. So make sure you go up in, we're going to leave his links in the description. You can also hit Mem up for if you want to get a birth chart reading as well, which is very interesting. I've had a few people that have said they've hit him up and got birth chart readings for them and family and that, and it's gone down really well because, you know, you get more of an understanding. We're going to get some more hardcore, like, we should, I should say, get some more hardcore astrologers on as well. You know what I mean? Just break it down, because people do get a bit like, I don't know about this stuff, but sometimes you're like, right, okay, this makes a lot of sense, man. I see there's something going on.
Yeah, it would be good, I think, for you to do that as well, for you to get like someone else have put their perspective to it. Do you get what I'm saying? Because like with a lot of the way I teach it, I kind of involve a lot of like the occultism side and how it connects to this and how it connects to that. Whereas some people just teach or explain like strictly astrology. Do you get what I'm saying? Which I can do as well. But with my way of like teaching and explaining knowledge, I like to combine it all and show how it connects, which is what the word syncretist means, or
Yeah.
syncretism means.
Yeah.
Bringing it all together. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
but yeah, if you ever want any good astrologers on your show, I can get you. I can recommend loads of people.
All right, let's do that. Yeah, man. All right, let's chat off air. We'll sort that out for sure, boy. Because, yeah, we got to open these people's minds up, man. Yo, that's one love, man. Thank you very much, man. Good to see you up in here, bruv, man.
Thank you.
All right, shout you in a bit, bruv.
Cool, man.
All right. And before we go, of course, I've got to shout out the one and only, the cmossboss.co.uk, mother lovers. That's right. You want to get your wild crafted, 100% organic, wild crafted sea vegetables. We're talking about Irish moss here, not just sea moss. It's Irish moss, straight off the coast. Do you know what I mean? Of Donegal. Sea vegetables from the cmossboss.co.uk. You can get all types. You can get dulse. You can get yourself some spirulina. You can get wakame. You know what I mean? They've got a whole bunch of different products there. Obviously, the benefits, you know what I mean? They speak for themselves, man. You hear a lot of people talking. You hear it in a lot of reggae tunes, you know what I mean? Yeah. You've heard a lot of us talking about, you know what I mean, what sea moss does for you. Basically, what's the easiest way to break it down? You got about like 92 minerals, you know what I mean, found in sea moss. That's out of the, 108 that the body needs.
The easiest way to break it down is you're going to be starving pretty soon.
Yeah,
and cold.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
So what did they do when they were starving in Ireland? They ate sea moss.
Yeah, they had sea vegetables.
And what did the Irish do after that? They took over America. They took over England. The Irish went everywhere, you know.
Think about it. They were the police. They were the police, bruv.
They're most of the presidents. Go look at all the presidents in America. Well, the guy we had before saying, exactly.
He's onto something, man. I was like,
Irish, it's all that sea moss. That's what it is. That's what he's missing. That's the missing link in Vinny's puzzle is the sea moss.
So this is what we got to do, man. Get on this sea moss, and we can take over. Us out there, you know what I mean? Conspiracy theorists. What else are we? Weirdos and all that. Yeah, we can take over, man. Just turn the whole place into a freaking conspiracy theory. You know what I mean? Get on the cmossboss.co.uk and get yourself a nice 20% off when you make any order by typing in about 20. That's ABOUT 20. Do that in uppercase as well. Man, make sure you get some dulse as well, man. The dulse is banging. It's really good for you, man, as well as the wakame. I'd say that for sure, man. And try out the gels, the sea moss gels, if you're not sure yet. You know what I mean? But it's quite, what's the word? It's nice when you're able to make your own gels as well. You know what I mean? Once you start like getting into the whole, adding your own
alchemy.
Yeah, the alchemy. Bam, there you go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You take your time making it as well. It's good, man. But yo, thank you very much for everyone that was locked in, man. That was another deep dive right there with our brother, Mem DVG. Big up to King Chico. Shout to your Moore. Big up Mr. Green. Shout to the Crystal Lady. You know what I mean? Turbo Tubalicious. Robbie Love. Yeah, we saw some heads in there tonight, man. For real. Big up Gleam. You know what I mean? Yeah, the astrology stuff, boy. Yeah, I could tell people are starting to wake up to it a bit. They're like, yeah, no, it makes sense. You know what I mean? You can see. They throw it everywhere. You don't realize. I was watching The Lion King. The Lion King. That's about, you know what I mean? It's like, what's his name? Scar is the moon. You know what I mean? What's his name is the Simba. He's the sun. You know, the son, like the pups. What's the pup's name? Pup's lion. I've forgotten his name now. But he dies, so the son dies. And then Simba. And then when you watch it, you can see like the moon's always about. When it's Scar, you always see the moon there. And then when Simba's the son, you're like, rah, boy. They throw it everywhere. Big up Bruce Willis. Shout out to DJ Bluefoot, man. Love for always locking in. Big up to Gabby. Yeah, man, the Common Senses, yeah? We fixed it up. The name is no longer the Common Senses because you lot aren't common enough. The way you lot think is not common enough. Shout to Jack Scoville. all the people locked in, man. This is some shit you might not never know nothing about. Do you know what I mean? Big up to Horizon of Zion. You know, we're going to do a bit more of this deep diving as well. Trust that. Shout to Streetwise Spirituality UK, a.k.a. the Masked Detective. Yes, we see you. And big up to Erin. Shout to Spud Gun.
Crystal Lady said Mufasa.
Oh, Mufasa. That's it. Yeah, Mufasa. Mufasa. Yeah, Mufasa. Yeah, Mufasa.
I've never seen it.
Ain't you? Yeah, The Lion King. Mufasa. Watch it. Watch it now. I've said that. Watch it now. I've said that. Watch The Lion King, and then you'll see. Like, right.
One day.
This shit's there. Like, even the beginning of it, how it starts is like the sun rising, but they make it a thing. You know, they make it like that's as soon as the sun rises. You know, it's like as soon as it hits above the horizon. Bam, they go in. And you're like, wow, once you clock it, then you're like, yeah, look, they keep pointing it out to you. Yeah. But yo, the live version, man, I ain't gonna lie, they messed that up, boy. It's just the way it is.
You watched it, you went to the live one quite a few times.
I got to watch it with a little one.
Oh,
Come on, bruv, man. Ease me up, man. I got, you know what I mean? Got links on the old, what's it, Cody?
Juvenile
Man, them on the Cody. You just hook that up. Yeah, but it is fun though. But yeah. Yeah, you ain't lying about Disney there. Crystal Lady's not lying. You know what? And this is the other thing, man. What I feel I want to work on is like children's stuff, programs and that are not, there's none of this hidden, do you know what I mean? It's not fucking Saturn everywhere and 5-pointed star, and it's all like, it's stuff where you're just like, why do I have to have that? Why is it always that there? And then knowing the stuff that, you know, DVG's like talking about, you're like, right, man, if there's just stuff that was just clean, it was just clean-hearted, just for, just learn.
What about, like, Ivory Engine, or like Bagpuss, or any of these old, but none of them had any of this symbolism in them. They was all just like innocent children's TV programs.
Just go back to that,
puppets and all that sort of thing.
They just look too old school. That's the thing, isn't it? They don't think too right. You're
right.
Not
enough explosions.
Yeah. Like for real, that's got to be worked on, man. Because boy, you know what I mean? Just give these kids something clean, man. Like you said, Disney's like, man. You lot ain't lying, man. That's why we love you lot, man. The Uncommon Senses. Thank you for locking in. You know what I mean? It's about that time right now, mother lovers. Let's go. Got to go blaze some of this guava. No, what am I talking about? Papaya. You know what I mean? And this, what's the other one, man? I'm so blazed, I forgot the name. But yeah, we got some Gorilla Glue here. You know what I mean? And we're in LA, of course. You lot know that we're in LA and that. Isn't it? Like, yeah, I'm gonna go blaze some Tropicana Smash Melons. That's it. But you know what the deal is, mother lovers. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next. Oh no, not next week. We're not going to be on next week. We're going to be on the following week because we're busy, innit? I think next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to be going away this weekend. Do some work, smoke a joint, the kids. You know how it goes. Get back on that horse. But yo, we want to say thanks to Mem DVG, Conscious Minds TV for coming through. Make sure you hit him up, follow him on all the platforms. That's right. This is some shit you might not never know nothing about. My name is Mike Diggy. That's Dan DNA. Guess what, mother lovers? We're out.